Big part in that outcome. It's time now to sit back and enjoy the action. We'll have all the news from Rugby Park, Kilmarnock up against Livingston, and we'll have goal flashes from the championship game between Cove Rangers and Queen's Park. But our commentary game this evening comes from Pittodrie. It's Aberdeen against Hibs with Willie Miller, Jim Duffy and Alistair Lamont.
Thanks very much, Kenny. Welcome to Pittodrie, where the scene is set for a potential cracker this Friday night. There'll be fireworks on the beachfront here in Aberdeen tomorrow evening, but we're hoping for a spectacular display a night early. Certainly this match has all the ingredients you could hope for. Third against fourth, bit of edge, and two sets of fans who've turned out in really good numbers on, although Willie Miller says there's no breeze, still a fairly chilly evening, certainly by my southern softy standards up here in the northeast.
Al, I didn't say there wasn't any wind. We'll produce a win, don't you worry about it.
Oh yes, I set that one up for you.
You did.
Anyway, yeah, it's all set here. A good crowd, as I say, inside Pittodrie for this Friday evening match. And both sets of players just about ready to get us underway here. A 7:30 kick-off as the two captains, David Marshall and Anthony Stewart, just go through the coin toss with the referee, David Munro. Aberdeen, all in red, will go from right to left as we look at it from the back of the main stand. And Hibs all in lime green this evening. And Aberdeen's form here at home has been excellent. Just the one defeat against Motherwell. And they've been free scoring up here as well. Only Rangers, I think, have scored as many at home as Aberdeen have in the league this season. And Hibs' record up here is not that great either, it has to be said. Go into that a bit more a little later on, but it will be Aberdeen to get us underway. And Bojan Majowski just ready to knock it back to Connor Barron. And now it's Liam Scales back to Stewart on the edge of his own penalty area. It's a still evening, certainly, as Willie was alluding to, and wonderful conditions. The pitch looks in good nick as well. Scales has it on the edge of his own penalty. He just knocks it back to Ross. He'll be closed down there by Liam Henderson, but he gets the pass away out to the right-hand side, and it's McCrory coming forward over the halfway line. Down the right he goes, down to the deck he goes, and Aberdeen still in possession. They may have been given the free kick here. If they did, it was so quickly taken, it was really immaterial. They still have the ball. I don't think Hibs have touched it yet in the opening 45 seconds. Aberdeen still inside their own half though. It's Stewart getting it back from Ramadani. Out it comes to this near side. And Aberdeen looking to probe and find a way through. Just looking at the Hibs structure just at the moment, Jim, although clearly out of possession at the moment, it does look like Henderson will be the midfielder further forward. It's a through ball, and Marshall has to come to the edge of his penalty area, just outside it, and chest it down before Majowski can latch onto it. Jim, I'll let you address the question first, and then Willie, just that good Aberdeen period of play.
Yeah, it looks as if McGuinness is going to play in the wider area, in midfield alongside Newell, and Henderson's the one that's trying to support the striker. But just Aberdeen had a great passage of play there. Kept the ball, maybe 15-20 passes, Willie. But then I think Hibs kind of switched off, and then it was that one long pass over the top, and thankfully from Hibs' point of view, David Marshall was on his toes and managed to anticipate it. But a very positive start from Aberdeen.
I thought David Marshall handled it extremely calmly, coming out beyond his box there and taking it in the chest, and just doing away with any kind of a threat that Aberdeen had. But yeah, very good start. A lot of possession from Aberdeen, good sharp play. But no chances as yet to talk about. But it looks as though, I think that both sides look set up to have a go. Hibs having the two up top along with Aberdeen at the other end as well.
Here's Clarkson trying to thread it forward. Porteous is in the way. Already had the boos from the home fans for his part in Liam Scales' red card at Easter Road, and also the subsequent comments from Jim Goodwin just adds a little bit of needle to the match, which
I think you have to worry when they start cheering you. When you come up if you're an opposition player.
I think, well, I looked at it, you know, when they all shake hands with each other before the game. I'm sure Scales and Porteous blanked each other
Right,
down the
right.
line. I'm absolutely sure. I was looking at it, and I think that, you know, I seen kind of Porteous just giving a wee kind of smile, and Scales just walked past him, I think. So yeah, we'll look at that later on in the game.
Cadden gives chase down the right hand side. Looks like he's got the legs there to get there. Stewart's missed the clearance. Kurevich inside the area tries to link Manu. Stewart's there to make it clear after all, but just a little bit of fragility there about the Aberdeen backline as Hibs came forward at pace. Eventually they worked it clear. Again, it's trying to knock it forward once more for Hibs, but Aberdeen come down the right hand side. Majowski can't hold on to it though. The Hibs will pick up once more. Ball played into the central area. Scales trying to knock it back to Roche, and he's done well to get there and knock it into the arms of his goalkeeper. Henderson trying to prevent a quick clearance by the keeper. Then Scales comes forward down the left. It goes to Coulson and back with Scales, and the halfway line has to go back the way to Stewart. Almost 4 minutes in at Pittodrie. 0-0 between fourth place Aberdeen, who played a game fewer than third place Hibs. Newell picks up in the middle of the park. It's Ryan Porteous just tries to help it down the right flank for Hibs. Scales keeps a close eye on Henderson as he knocks it back to his goalkeeper Ross, who clears first time, headed back into the Aberdeen half by Porteous, picked up by Ramadani. He's got that through now to Duke. Duke running at Bashiri up to the edge of the penalty area, looking to take him on, just slips at the vital moment, and Porteous is able to get back and help out his central defensive partner and knock it clear. But Duke, Willie, you were talking about the pace of Duke in behind, and you can see how threatening he can be.
That is frightening. He is very quick. He's very direct as well, and he wants to take defenders on. You know, we're speaking about the pitch there earlier, and that's two central defenders not being able to gauge the ball coming off the ground. Stewart, you know, giving up a great opportunity, and then Porteous as well, you know, misreading the bounce off the pitch. Very strange, Jim. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was both of them were very casual. Well, you know what I mean, because the pitch is perfect. It's like a bowling green, and you know, and I just felt that Stewart, the first one, he almost tried to flick it with the outside of his right foot and didn't make good connection. And Porteous, I think, just took his eye completely off the ball and under his foot. But I thought, you know, Bashiri did well, because he didn't rush to Duke, and he wanted to show him on his left foot, knowing the full well, and Duke was wanting to chop back on. So it was good defending, but I think Duke's got to be a little bit more positive there.
Out for a throw in this near side to Hibernian, just in front of Lee Johnson's technical area. Not quite sure whether the referee's pulled that one back. Once the Hibs throw in
For 2 yards, I think.
take it again.
Yeah.
Just as well, because
I know. I think it's a wrong decision, though, Jim, isn't it? I mean, there's only a couple of yards in it, for goodness sake. And you know, it's keeping the tempo of the game up, and we want to see the tempo of the game kept up. And if Aberdeen switched off, which they did do, it was an opportunity for Hibs to take advantage of that.
Well, look, Ryan Porteous is now where Nicky Cadden was when he took the throw in. So the referee's going there to...
He has. He's given it to Aberdeen now. Not heeding the warning from referee David Munro.
I don't know what Ryan Porteous is thinking. The referee's just allowed them to get back 3 or 4 yards, and he just walked the halfway line through it again. So just a couple of lapses of concentration from Ryan Porteous. Maybe he's just still caught up in the, you know, that incident from 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Coulson back to his goalkeeper Roche, is quickly closed down by Kurevich. Coolly sidesteps the Ukrainian striker and plays it back to Coulson, left hand side, down the line for Scales, and back to Coulson. Heavy touch from Coulson. Porteous comes forward, right hand side, it's Cadden into the area. Stewart stoops to head away out to the left hand side. Coulson under pressure from Cadden, gets it back to Scales, who scoops it out of play down this left hand side. And it's a pretty even contest so far, opening 7 minutes. Both sides having moments where they can come forward. No real threat on either goal as such at this stage, as Cadden prepares to take the throw in 20 yards from the corner flag on Hibs' right hand side. Gets it back from McGuinness. It's McGuinness once more, who made his first start a couple of Fridays ago against St Johnstone. And it goes to Newell. Newell curls it goalwards, a couple of yards wide of Rose's right hand post. And it will be a goal kick to Aberdeen. Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0.
Yeah, it was good play from Hibs there, you know, Nicky Cadden. I mean, again, Kurevich comes short, you know, takes the defender with him, allows space for Newell to come off into that inside right position on his favoured left foot. Probably should have done a little bit better, a couple of yards wide. of the far post. But Aberdeen have just, lost their way after the initial 3 or 4 minutes. They come out the blocks, but Hibernian are just starting to grow in confidence.
Jim, a couple of weeks ago I was calling Kyle McGuinness Josh McGuinness probably at most of the evening. Just to point out, a couple of times you've referred to Chris Cadden as Nicky Cadden.
Oh, Nicky,
so.
sorry, that's me.
But no, I'm prone to that myself, so I just thought I would put that in your head.
Oh, definitely.
Here's Anthony Stewart just picking the ball up from Kilmarnock and then gets it back to the Dutch keeper. And then out to Barron. Barron with a good pass for McCrory, who's now able to cross the halfway line. Then plays it now for Clarkson. Clarkson midway inside the Hibs half. Promising move for Aberdeen out to the left to Coulson. Up against Cadden. And as well stands up. And it will be a throw into Aberdeen down near the corner flag. It was a good flowing move there from Aberdeen, Willie.
A lot of space to take advantage of as well from Hibs. I don't think Lee Johnson would be particularly happy.
Good play from Clarkson past 2 Hibs players. Bashiri comes across to cut him out, but wonderful skill from Leighton Clarkson down inside the penalty area, ultimately on the left-hand side. And Bashiri was required to clear the danger. Corner kick Aberdeen.
Yeah, really good skill from Clarkson there. He skipped past 2 players. I'm not quite sure if he nutmegged Porteous. If he did, he certainly would be very happy, but it was lovely ability in this first corner of the match to Aberdeen.
Yeah, to be taken by Clarkson, left-hand side, right-footed, swings it in near post. It was Kenna in there who got the crucial first touch. Comes back out though to Coulson, and then Clarkson back with Coulson once more. Henderson trying to hold him up. Now it's Ramadani, left-hand side for Aberdeen. Back it goes to Clarkson. Low ball in, it's not a particularly good cross, and Henderson picks up after Kenna had blocked it in there. And now it's Chabraya who finds himself over on the right-hand side. Tries to switch the play, gets the pass all wrong. Almost 10 minutes on the clock as Ross knocks it short to Barron. Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0.
Probably should have done better there. The full-back on his left foot, and Kuryavic was definitely free in the left-hand side, making a decent run. If the ball would have been a little bit more accurate, then it was a decent opportunity for him to take advantage. Aberdeen looking a little bit open at the back at times.
I was going to say, it looks like it's going to be an open game generally, doesn't it, so far, 10 minutes in?
I would say so. I think both managers are keen to tell us before the game that it's going to be open. It certainly looks like that.
Henderson out to the left-hand side. Here's Newell picking up, goes to the ball on the drop on the volley, but well off target, as you can hear from the ironic cheers from the fans of Aberdeen behind Kelleross's goal. But again, half a chance. Haven't really had a clear-cut one in the opening 10 minutes, but certainly both sides committed to the attack, and it has made for quite an entertaining opening period here as the ball's knocked back to Ross.
It's good play from Joe Newell. He's picking up the second balls. He's obviously he's not made a clean enough connection. He's really wanting to hit a dipping volley. But he's had 2 efforts at goal, and from a midfield player supporting the strikers, that's what you're wanting. Somebody to go up there, and one of these times he'll get his time and his distances right.
Bashiri, it's a slightly dangerous ball into McGuinness, who was caught flat-footed, and here come Aberdeen down the left-hand side. McGuinness going to recover for losing the ball in the first place, and manages to block the cross out to the right-hand side to Cadden. Cadden knocks it down the right channel. Back goes Stewart, knocks it to his goalkeeper Kelleross under a bit of pressure from Kuryavic, and Ross gets it out to McCrory, playing as the right-hand side centre back in the 3 with Stewart and Scales. It's a formation that Jim Goodwin has come to use a fair bit now in the last few weeks. Allows him to play the 2 up front with Majowski and Duke, looking like a pretty promising partnership. That defeat at Ibrox ended a 3-game winning run, as Hanlon breaks things up for Hibs and then powers forward down the left. Majowski has come back almost to the goal line to try and block him. He's done well, the striker, but so too did Hanlon, and he wins the throw-in over on the far side, the Hibs left, just a few yards from the corner flag.
He had to do well there, Majowski. was it Majowski? It was Majowski, yeah, chasing back and Hanlon intercepting it. I think the Aberdeen striker just a little bit too casual trying to take the ball in. You've got to have a look around about you and know that you've got close attention there. Handling get the better of him.
Joe Newell lining up the long throw in from the left hand side, about 15 yards from the corner flag on the Hibs left. Plenty of bodies in green in there. Porteous got a flick on, it comes to Cadden, but it's a really wayward shot. It was a difficult one to get on target certainly, but he was nowhere near it. Hits the roof of the stand, comes back onto the pitch, and it will remain after 30 minutes. Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0.
I think Nicky Cadd might have done better than Chris Cadden there. No, listen, I think he should have done better, really. I mean, he's not under a lot of pressure. There's a little flick on, but he's came right across it, and again, try to put too much pace on it. You've got to get over the ball and just concentrate your technique. You don't need to hit it 100 miles an hour. So, yeah, again, the third effort for Hibernian, but they haven't hit the target in any of them.
I think it's a big opportunity for him. You know, and he's kind of a swipe target. He's not, you know, concentrated enough on the effort.
Here's Newell, edge of the penalty area. Kuharevich, good challenge from McCrory. It had to be absolutely spot on, and he took plenty of the ball to bring Kuharevich to the deck and get the ball back to Kelleros, but Kuharevich was bearing down on goal. McCrory took a chance making the challenge, but he got it absolutely right as Porteous almost makes a hash of it, but eventually gets the ball to Hanlon just inside his own half. Then Hanlon forward looking for Henderson. Ross comes off his line and gets a good punch to it, and takes Ewan Henderson out of play at the same time, and out for a throw-in down near the corner flag right hand side. Now the Hibs players surrounding the referee here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he took Henderson out, but to me, well, interesting obviously both of your takes on it, but the referee, any check was over very quickly. It looked like he took the ball plenty.
Yeah, he did, but he wanted to take a bit of Henderson as well. So, but it's legal, I think. He's going for the ball. He makes good contact with it. Henderson's not hurt in any way. It's just a bit of a nudge inside the box. No penalty whatsoever.
Throw into Hibs only a few yards from the corner flag, right hand side. Long throw from Newell. Bashiri wins it, but then headed away by Coulson, only as far as Cadden. Back out to the right hand side. Newell back to Cadden once more. Plenty of time to measure a cross in. It's not a bad looking ball. Header comes in from Kuharevich at the back post, but he couldn't get it on target. But good pressure from Hibs in the last few minutes. 0-0 though, quarter of an hour gone.
Yeah, I thought the Aberdeen defenders would have pushed out just another 3 or 4 yards there, Willie, for me. You know, they're just around the penalty spot, maybe a yard or two deeper, and, you know, the ball's 30 yards out. So for me, I think they could have been just 2 or 3 yards squeeze up. But the ball from Cadden was slightly behind Kuharevich, so I think he was difficult to get any purchase on it. The referee again, he's making a VAR decision. I don't know what it is, but he decided it's going to go.
Yeah, again, play on, but it wasn't very clear what was being checked there. There was certainly nothing untoward from our vantage point, but the referee had his finger to his ear, which is an indication that there might be a check, or there will be a check taking place.
I struggle with that. I struggle with Roos giving the ball to Stewart and then getting the ball back and then just really driving it up the pitch to lose possession. I really do struggle with the thought process behind that.
I think they just do it to rile you, Willie. I think they've heard.
I think they do. I'm all for it if it's on and the centre backs can take it in good space and build the game up. But in tight situations like that, there is no point. There is no point whatsoever. I'm sorry, there isn't.
Just to go back to that quick VAR check, that Ryan Porteous had gone down inside the box, I'm told, and that was what was being checked. But there was clearly nothing amiss, and so play continues very quickly.
It would have been fun if something happened with Ryan Porteous.
Well, there's plenty of time for that to happen. Hibs have a throw in deep inside their own territory, taken by Chabraya. Down the left it goes. Stewart climbing higher than Kuharevich, gets his head to it. Hibs are giving as good as they're getting in this game so far, but here come Aberdeen. Majowski up against Bashiri, and the offside flag has gone up against Majowski there down the right channel. There will be a free kick to Hibs about 25 yards from their own goal, down in front of the big travelling support, you'd have to say, up from Leith for the Friday evening, and it's making for a good atmosphere here because the home fans also, Willie, are turning out in numbers, which is testament, I suppose, to what both sides are providing for the most part this season.
Well, it is. It's an initiative, isn't it, the Friday night football? You know, and it seems to have the fans buying into it. That's probably the most important thing, is that the fans enjoy it. They turn out in their numbers. It's a magnificent turnout from the Hibs fans, you've got to say. And as I said before the game, the Aberdeen fans are quite excited with the performances that they're seeing here at Pittodrie.
Yeah, I like Friday night football, I have to say. It's been a hit in the Championship for us on BBC Scotland. There's a game this evening as well. Here's Henderson, slides it through Kuharevich. Newell can't quite pick up, and Aberdeen able to clear through McCrory. Wondered if Kuharevich could have taken that on himself there. Hibs return it. It's McGuinness picking up midway inside the Aberdeen half. Hibs still in possession, back though with Bashiri just inside his own territory. Forward it goes to Henderson, who's just dropping a little bit off the front now, and it's out to Cadden, right hand side. 18.5 in, still 0-0. Porteous bombing forward into the penalty area. Comes cleared away by Stewart for a throw in on this near side.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kuharevich could have just let it swivel and just going to the hit at it. You know, he's a striker. You know, in these situations, you know, you just let the ball run across your body. You never know, it might take a ricochet, a deflection, anything could happen. So yeah, I thought that was a half a chance here, just have a go.
Hibs have got a corner, right hand side. And they've had a good spell these last few minutes. Kuharevich also a striker in form, couple of goals in his last 2 games.
Got a bit of presence, Hibs in the box, haven't they? A bit of physicality. I think a bigger team than Aberdeen.
Newell from the right hand side, left footed, preparing to swing it in. He rolls it into, that's a really poor corner. I'm not sure exactly what he was trying to execute, but Conor Barron was there first, and here come Aberdeen on the counter. It's McCrory down the left hand side, switches the play. Coulson's on the right hand side, can he keep it in? He can't, is the answer, and it will be a throw into Hibs, and a promising counter comes to an end for Aberdeen. But let's go back to the corner. It was a woeful effort.
Did they have a set piece, coach? If they do, then he'll be hanging his head in shame after that one. Obviously something that they've tried in the training field, but just wasn't executed properly. And is it Bashiri that's down?
Yeah, a problem for Bashiri on the edge of his own penalty area. Didn't see any particular incident, but he's gone down with the ball out of play.
I think it was just the intensity of him getting back, wasn't it, from the set piece?
Goal at Rugby Park in the very early stages. Let's hear about it from Martin Dowden. Hello, Martin Dowden, are you with us?
Hi Al, sorry we have a bit of an issue here with the sound, but it is a goal for Kilmarnock. They're 1-0 up. The ball played into the box there. It fell right on the 6-yard line. It looks as though it might be Chris Stokes that got the final touch. It's very crowded in there, but it is Kilmarnock 1, Livingston 0.
Thanks, Martin. We'll just get that goal scorer confirmed as and when Martin can get that done. But yeah, Kilmarnock with a lead for 5 or 6 minutes into that game against Livingston, as Bashiri is back to his feet, looks to be running okay. He's come off, but he'll go back on, and it will be a throw into Hibernian over on the far side. Joe Wright was the goal scorer for Kilmarnock, one of the other big central defenders on the score sheet then.
I think back to that corner, Willie, I think that like us all, because the Hibs got all the big guys up, you thought it's going to get in, and I think trying to catch Aberdeen out, and then just try to block the runners and then play it to the edge of the box. But Joe Newell just completely scuffed it, and didn't have any pace on the ball, and Hibernian obviously broke away and maybe should have done a little bit better in the counter-attack. Sorry, Aberdeen on the counter-attack.
Aberdeen have it, left-hand side, Coulson, halfway line, turns it back to Scales. Aberdeen probably haven't had as much of the attacking play as they would have liked in the last 10 minutes. The visitors doing more of that. Still no goals, almost at the halfway point in this first period.
Yeah, I think Hibs have been a better side. I think they've looked the more threatening team. Aberdeen have really struggled to get control of the game. I don't think that Hibs have had great control of the game, but when the incidents have happened in either box, and it's certainly been at the Aberdeen end that the chances have been created, and Hibs perhaps a little bit unfortunate that they've maybe not taken advantage of the chances they've created.
Here come Aberdeen though into the penalty area. Bashiri and Porteous between them managing to poke it clear. Forward come Hibs. Cove Rangers just a few miles away from here as the live hosts of the BBC Scotland in the Championship this evening. They've gone one up inside 3 minutes. Here's Cadden for Hibs, in for Henderson. Great save from Kelleros to tip it over the crossbar as Henderson got his head to the cross from Cadden, and it will be a corner, and it remains Aberdeen 0, Hibs 0. Best chance of the game so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what Lee Johnson will be looking for from Henderson. Getting it into the box, and supporting the striker. It was a lovely little ball from Porteous. He's done that 2 or 3 times for Cadden. Cadden's definitely getting the pace. And again, a lovely little side foot ball in, and he just couldn't get an angle on the header, and Bruce managed to flip it over the bar. But see if Newell can do better with a corner this time.
Yeah, he's got a corner from the right hand side once more. He's got a brilliant delivery on his left foot. You'd imagine this one will be curled in as it is to the near post. It's headed down by Majowski. Bashiri's there, gets his head to it, but Ross gets a good fist away, plenty distance on that punch, but it's fired back out from Chabraya to Newell on this right hand side. Back to McGuinness it goes, closed down by Majowski. McGuinness loses out to the striker, who tries to feed it forward for Duke. Cadden's got something on it. Across comes Bashiri before Duke can run free, and then gets the pass away to Cadden. Good defending in the end from Hibs as they try to use the pace there, Aberdeen of Duke, but they've coped with them pretty well, the Hibs backline so far.
But I think Bashiri has on a couple of occasions, hasn't he? Really spotted the danger, covering the defender there, and getting himself into the right position, reading the game extremely well, and not allowing that pace that Duke has to get the better of him.
I think Henderson's given a few problems to the Aberdeen defence. There's no one really picking him up, Willie. He's floating about. He's not playing just like a 10. Sometimes he's wide, sometimes he's going behind Kurevic, and he's been very productive so far in the early part of the game. He's on it again.
Here's Henderson now for McGuinness, 25 yards from goal, thought about the shot, lays it out to the right to Cadden instead, stands it up in the penalty area. McCrory with a good defensive header, with Kurevic lurking, cleared up to the halfway line. Porteous under pressure from Duke, gets it to Bashiri, who'll just knock it back to his goalkeeper. But yeah, I think Hibs, Jim, as Willie's saying, pretty much have been on top, certainly the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, Aberdeen came out the traps, as you would expect, first 3 or 4 minutes, but David Marshall had one long ball to deal with, which he came out and dealt with pretty well. But other than that, there's not been really any kind of threat from Aberdeen. Listen, they're working hard, they're trying to close Hibs down. The Hibs look very comfortable at this moment in time, and I think Lee Johnson will be a wee bit disappointed, as Willie said, that they haven't managed to test Roos a little bit more and perhaps even get themselves in front.
And Joe Newell, I think he thought he'd just run the ball out of play there, but the referee's actually awarded him a free kick.
It was Ramadani had a hold of his arm, wasn't allowing him to get control of the ball there, and the referee was just waiting to see if there was any advantage to be played.
It's down now with Scales. Newell just seemed to be trying to shake off a little knock there as well, as Scales knocks it back to Kelleros, who produced a really good save from Ewan Henderson just a few minutes ago, tipping the ball over the bar. Would you class that as a save you'd expect him to make, Willie, or is it better than that?
No, I thought he made it look better than what it really had to look, to be honest. It was right over the top of him.
Yeah.
He could have just stood there and touched it over the bar, but hey, I've no problems with that. If he wants to make it look spectacular, great, but it was,
as long as you keep it out of the net.
Yeah,
that's the main thing, isn't it? 26 and a half played, still goalless at Pittodrie between Aberdeen and Hibernian, but a good game so far. I think we're all agreed here that Hibs have had the better of it, but no goals to show for it as Ramadani picks up right hand side for Aberdeen, tries to feed it forward for Majowski right hand side onto the left foot, curls it, it's a great ball, Clarkson trying to get onto it, now Coulson, and he was closed down by Cadden, out for a corner to Aberdeen. That was a promising moment for the home side.
It was, yeah. Majowski drifting out to the wide area and putting a great cross into the box, really difficult to defend. Does David Marshall come out? I think that was in his mind, maybe to take control of the situation, but decided to leave it to his 2 centre backs, and Clarkson was there, and then Coulson having the strike, but it was well blocked. Good move. You know, big chance for them.
Clarkson corner, left-hand side, curled into the 6-yard area. Neither Duke nor Stewart could really make much of it. Hibs come clear. Cadden, whose pace can be a threat on the counter, just pokes it out to the left to Chabraya, who just keeps it in play. Halfway line, more or less. Back in field to Cadden, who's still over on that left-hand side. Forward it goes to McGuinness. McGuinness about 30 yards from goal. Goes for goal this time. Comfortable save down to his right from Kellerus, who immediately bowls it out for Coulson, who finds Ramadani, and now Duke, well challenged by Porteous. Good battle here on the right-hand side then. Porteous slides into the Aberdeen dugout there under a good bit of pressure there from Duke, and it will be a Hibernian free kick. I'm sure he was made very welcome when he slid into the Aberdeen technical area there.
Just as well the manager wasn't in it. Could have been interesting.
Yes, indeed.
Well, Duke showed a bit of fighting spirit. You know, he looks as if he can do it muscle, but he's very strong upper body, Duke. So he was just telling Ryan Porteous, listen, I'm not going to be pushed around here.
It's taken an age to decide who's actually going to deliver this free kick. Eventually Joe Newell says, well, I'll take it. A couple of yards in from the touchline, but 10 yards inside Aberdeen half. Into the penalty area it comes. Good header from Stewart. Then Kenna gets to it before Barrington. He's gone down, and it will be a free kick to Hibernian. About 22 yards from goal. Aberdeen protest about the award, but Kenna got to the ball first. Barron was slightly unaware, I think, of where Kenna was, and brought him to the ground. And a free kick to Hibernian, a very promising position, just slightly left the centre, 22 yards out. And this is a chance.
It is a chance. I think the Aberdeen players are saying that it was a straight leg, kind of a touch by Kenna. It was quite high, and they had a point. Barron didn't really anticipate that it was there. He swiped his leg, took the player out to the game, and the free kick was given. But I think the Aberdeen players had a point there, because it looked to me as though the boot was very high. We kind of trying to control it.
So the line for the wall has been drawn in line with the penalty area, so that confirms my thought. It's about 22 yards for this free kick, which Kuharevich is pretty much the only player who's looking interested in it. Standing over the free kick, as I say, just slightly left of centre, as Kellerus lines up a sizable wall there. A couple of Hibs players in and around it as well, including your man Ryan Porteous. Kuharevich strikes it just over the top. That looked close from Kuharevich, but not close enough. Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0, half an hour played.
Yeah, a lot of pace on the ball, but you know, very difficult to get up and down from that distance there. You know, maybe 2 or 3 yards further back he might be able to do it. I think he just went for power on the same side as the goalkeeper, but maybe a yard or so wide. But I think he must be something that practices, because there was not another player come near the ball. You know, he'd made his mind up very, very early on that he was going to be taking the free kick, and you know, as I said, a reasonable execution, but you've got to try and test the goalkeeper.
Relief for the Aberdeen fans in the red shed behind Kellerus's goal, as Hibs come forward once more. Stewart heads it down, but Newell will pick up the seconds again. Ramadani with him, good challenge from Ramadani, but again it breaks for a Hibs player. It's McGuinness picking up now, left-hand side. Newell, just a nice cut back for Kenna. Kenna takes a couple of touches, can't get room for the shot, so plays it out to the right-hand side to Cadden. Cadden gets out of his feet, well blocked by Coulson, as Cadden tried to sweep it into the penalty area. Throw into Hibs. 40 minutes of the first half remaining. Ball boy comes on the pitch as the play is already underway, just to try and retrieve a loose ball. Headed out of the penalty area and picked up by Chabraya, left-hand side for Hibs. You'll have to go back the way though to Bashiri. Bashiri's closed down by Majowski. Bashiri holds him off, turns back, knocks it to Hanlon just inside his own half. Looks for the pass and finds Porteous. Porteous back to Hanlon, still inside the centre circle. Back with Porteous once more. Just a few yards deeper out it comes to Henderson, who's just drifting off the front at times, picking up little pockets of space, and forward he comes now, closed down by Ramadani. Out to the right to Cadden. Cadden trying to get away from Coulson. Cuts it back once more to McGuinness. McGuinness for Porteous into the penalty area. It comes, good take from Kellerus. Takes command of the situation, takes the pressure off his defence, and it's still 0-0 with 32 played. Immediately swept upfield by Roche for Majowski, but he can't link with a teammate. And Hibs, who have won only once here in their last 12 meetings, and who have a pretty poor away record all told, are certainly the team on top in this first half at Pittodrie, but it's still 0-0.
I think particularly Cadden is bombing up and down quite a lot. Most of their success has been this side of the pitch, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about both the wing backs for Aberdeen, they're not great defensively, Jim. And I think that's why Jim Goodwin has actually went to the three at the back and allowed them to be, you know, wing backs instead of full backs. If they were full backs, then I think they would be exploited. Coulson not the best defensively, good going forward though, and I think Chris Cadden's get the measure of him. I think Hibs have had the measure of Aberdeen for, you know, the vast majority of the 30 odd minutes that we've played.
Chabraya heads in from the left hand side, linked with McGuinness. Good backtracking there by Richardson, and just knocks it out of play over on the far side for a Hibs throw. But Hibs have spent the last 20 odd minutes on the front foot after Aberdeen had started the match pretty positively.
Another long throw, I think.
Yeah,
they load the box. I mean, all three centre backs are up: Porteous, Bashiri, and the Hanlon. So it's obviously something that Hibs feel they can exploit.
Yeah, Newell lining up the throw, and this time from the left hand side. He has got a good long throw on him, and it comes to the edge of the 6-yard box. It's headed by Richardson, flicked on almost by Richardson. Stewart helps it clear though, then Duke, and here come Aberdeen on the counter. What can they do this time? Clarkson for Majowski. Has he got the pace? He's past McGuinness. Hibs trying to get bodies back, flicks it forward, a chance for Duke, tucks it. Oh, it's brilliantly saved on the line by Chabraya. What great defending, and he's mobbed by his teammates because he's kept side level after Duke thought he'd scored. And it remains Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0.
Yeah, it was a lightning counter, wasn't it? You know, I thought, you know, that Majowski had done just about everything. Well, he did do everything right, and Duke with that pace, getting up there to support him, 2 on the break, and, you know, taking the ball with a little clip, you know, over the top of Marshall, but Chabraya there just to clip it off the line. I mean, it's great anticipation, it's marvellous defending from the full-back, but I would have to say that they leave themselves particularly open at set pieces, Jim. The corner kicks with the 3 centre-backs going up, and Bashiri not winning the ball against, I think it was Duke they didn't win the ball against.
I think Kenna was at the holding midfielder, and he's the one, Willie, that you can't gamble there. It was almost like a tentative jump, you know, he didn't really go fully committed. And he's really only got 2 choices here. Either heads it or he gives away a free kick. But you can't allow Aberdeen to win it and then go on the counter-attack. And as you say, terrific, you know, from Majowski and Duke to get up there. I mean, he's run fully 80 yards, but also Chabraya as well. Brilliant defenders, a good play all round, and just shows you how, you know, you can nibble the ball when you get the chances, but, you know, one little lapse of concentration and Aberdeen could have taken advantage of it.
Yeah, they were very, very close to taking the lead there, the home side, but here come Hibs again, looking to respond. There's Chabraya on that left-hand side. He's won the throw-in. I don't think the fans on the far side necessarily agree with David Munro's decision there, gesticulating. But Aberdeen have won it back momentarily, but they've got a free kick. Richardson was being fouled in the referee's eyes there by Joe Newell. Home fans a bit happier with that decision. 9 minutes of the first half remaining, still goalless, but I think that was the clearest cut chance we've had so far, just a couple of minutes ago from Duke. His shot was goal bound, but for the intervention of Marian Chabraya on the line, or more or less on the line, to prevent it going in. Don't know quite what McCrory was intending with that free kick, but it was straight to Henderson. Hibs couldn't quite capitalise. Kennett and then Cadden losing out. Hibs again fighting to win it back, and it's Newell coming forward. Kurevich, Cadden had gone offside. Kurevich wisely holds on to it, but then he's crowded out, and Aberdeen have it back, but can they get it clear? It's Ramadani back for Clarkson. Clarkson's clearance falls only to Cadden. Cadden in field for Porteous. Porteous for McGuinness. McGuinness with the outside of his right foot doesn't get the power in the shot that he required, and it's an easy save for Keller Ross. The home fans not entirely happy with what they're seeing here. 0-0.
I think Aberdeen seemed determined to give Hibs a chance there. I mean, they refused point blank to clear it. You know, yeah, we understand modern football, you want to play out, but there are times you're under pressure. You've just got to get it 40-50 yards up the pitch and squeeze the game. But they just refuse to do that.
You know, they constantly do that, and when you've got someone like Duke as well that's got pace, Majowski's an intelligent player as well. You know, try to use him a little bit more when you're under pressure. They seem intent to try to build it up, even when it's not on.
Right hand side, Richardson up against Kenna, tries to go back the way, can't get it past Chabraya, and the home fans venting a bit of frustration here in this first half. I've seen their side largely dominated by Hibs, albeit they could have been in front themselves just a few minutes ago, but for a wonderful goal line clearance from Chabraya. Aberdeen free kick as Coulson is taken out the play there, and it's about 35, maybe almost 40 yards out, left or centre. Probably not a chance to shoot on goal, but certainly a chance to try and create something here for Leighton Clarkson, who looks likely to take the free kick with 7 minutes of the first period remaining. Still goalless.
Yeah, Kel McGuinness there just came right across him and just bundled him to the ground. You know, it was I think a needless free kick, because I think Hibernian had enough players around them to deal with it, but as you said, an opportunity for Aberdeen to get the ball into the box.
Clarkson then standing over it. Coulson is also there, the right foot or the left foot, and Duke standing in an obvious offside position. What will this yield? It's swung in by Clarkson, and it's just a little bit too much on it, and it's straight out of play, and disappointing Willie Miller from Aberdeen.
Yeah, he's you know, I think from that angle, when you're taking it with the right foot, I think you've got to hang it up a little bit more. You know, he's curled it, but it's low, it's flat, there's too much pace on it as well, and an easy one to defend against, because you just let it go out of play. I think Aberdeen in the midfield have struggled in the game, Jim. Don't know how you feel, but see, when McCrory is in the midfield, it gives you a bit of strength and a bit of athleticism, and you know, the fact that he's playing as a centre back, you know, even against the Rangers as well, I thought, and even against Motherwell, I thought, although he's very good, I think, as one of the three centre backs, I think Aberdeen lose a little bit of strength and domination in the midfield. I think Hibs have certainly been the better in that department.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think Ramadani, you know, I think he's got to look around and just assess the game a little bit more. To me, he's playing off the pace, Willie. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem to be closing anyone down, but he doesn't seem to be getting on the ball either. Yeah. So, you know, if you're dropping off in between your two centre backs and getting on the ball and starting the attacks, then fair enough. I don't think he's doing either at this moment in time.
Rocky Bashiri's down with a head knock just on the halfway line, which is why there's a stoppage in play right now. 5 minutes until the break. Still 0-0. Hibernian having the better of the earlier opportunities. There was a Ewan Henderson header that was saved very well by Kelleros on 23 minutes, and then Kuharevich firing over a free kick which didn't miss the target by much. But the best opportunity of the night has come for the home side, despite having been second best for the most part, and it was Duke who almost opened the scoring, slipping the ball beyond David Marshall, but back there went Marian Chabraya to save the ball just before it crossed the line, made the clearance, and that is why we have no goals thus far, but otherwise a pretty entertaining watch, chaps. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's been a decent game, football game. It's just that little final action in and around the box, those key moments, whether it's a final delivery. I think, particularly from Hibernian's point of view, they've had 2 or 3 opportunities and they haven't hit the target. I think Kuharevich has had a couple of chances where he could just release it a little bit quicker and just swivel and hit. So I think Hibernian have definitely been the better side. I mean, they haven't absolutely bossed the game, but I think they've been the better side, Willie. And I think Jim Goodwin can sort it at half-time, so I think as long as it stays 0-0, I think you can tweak it a little bit and from Aberdeen's perspective, hopefully get a little bit more going forward.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a reasonably close game, but if you're talking about who's been the better team, then you've got to give it to the away side, and they've been.
Here comes Duke though, powering forward at pace, stopped eventually by Porteous. It was a good bit of play though again between Barron, Majowski and Duke to set up the chance. It should be an Aberdeen throw-in. It is down in front of us.
Terrific attitude there from Duke. You know, I mean, yeah, listen, he could have maybe released the ball, but you know, there's a couple of times he's given it away and he's absolutely sprinted back, and fans love that, Willie. You know, listen, you accept a mistake, but it's what you do with it.
Scales down the left channel for Duke. Across comes Bashiri. Duke just stumbles and Bashiri wins it well. The referee's pulled it back for a free kick. He could have just let Bashiri proceed because he was away from Duke and was moving forward.
He should have, yeah, he should have allowed advantage.
Yeah.
I think it hit Duke's hand, did it not? I think that's what he's given it
Possibly
for.
is, yeah.
As the ball came off the ground. You know, but you're right. You know, when you get advantage, you know, let the game flow. Both teams are wanting to get forward. They want to get forward quickly. I think that's what the fans want to see as well.
I've seen a couple of players changing their boots, and Duke again, that's a couple of times he's slipped as well. You know, and I don't know if it's just that there's a wee skim on the pitch, but you know, they've got to maybe get the balance right a little bit.
It's probably them slippers that they wear these days.
Ramadani has been penalised here, and the home fans are in absolute uproar. And I have to say, I've got a bit of sympathy. Can't really see what Ramadani was doing wrong there.
Yeah, listen, it's not a huge error, you know. I mean, it's near the halfway line, it's a free kick. If it's in and around about the box, I think sometimes we get a little bit more critical. But Aberdeen have got to switch on.
Yeah, the free kick's been taken down the right. Henderson into the penalty area, but can't get it across goal. It's gone straight behind. The home fans voicing their disapproval of not just that decision. I think they feel that maybe that's 2 or 3 that have gone against him. But I must say, I didn't see Ramadani doing anything wrong that led to that free kick being awarded.
I'll ask the referee, the expert to my right here, Willie. What do you think?
I didn't actually see it. You know, I'll take the old manager's route out. I didn't actually see the incident.
I just don't think there really was an incident as such. I'm not quite sure what David Munro spotted there, but
yeah, but as Jim says, it's a nothing free kick. You know, why is everybody getting excited about it?
Oh, they're football fans, really. That's why.
Yeah, but
it is.
It's, you know, what the referee gets it wrong. Is that new news? I don't think so. He gets a decision wrong. It's on the halfway line. It's beside the dugout. Maybe because it's beside the dugout, that gives it a little bit more intensity to it. But you know, everybody getting excited about nothing.
Not everyone's as phlegmatic and philosophical as you about refereeing decisions that don't go their way.
I've never made a wrong one.
30 seconds of the opening 45 minutes remaining. Hibs have a free kick taken by David Marshall from midway inside his own half. Knocked forwards by Clarkson, but out of play, in fact. And it will be a Hibs throw with just injury time really remaining in this opening period, which has been a decent enough watch, but no goals for us to enjoy as yet. Cadden into the penalty area with a throw-in. Scales turns it away, out for another throw-in to Hibernian on the right-hand side. A couple of minutes of added on time. We've just entered those just now as Newell will come across just a couple of yards away from the corner flag to launch this one into the penalty area. And it's never a bad time to open the scoring, but we always think that just before half-time's particularly good. Porteous can't reach the long throw in though. Kenny picks up, back to Newell, sends it back into the penalty. That's a good ball. Stewart wins the first header and the second one. Porteous still in there as well. Kuharevich can't latch on to the header from Porteous, and Keller-Ross will just bide his time and then eventually pick the ball up before perhaps launching one final Aberdeen attack of the first half. Just waves his defenders forward. He'll go route one, it looks like, with this one. Just rolls out of his penalty area before knocking it long over the halfway line, well over the halfway line. Easy one for Bashiri to head clear as far as Richardson. Richardson just lets it roll over the touchline on the far side, the Aberdeen right, about 10-15 yards inside the Hibs half. Throws it in, gets it back from Barron. Richardson away from Newell, coming forward now towards the edge of the penalty area. Still Richardson goes through for Duke. Duke's in and goal. Marshall comes out. What's the referee's decision here? Corner kick. Oh, it's an offside, isn't it? The assistant's got his flag up against Duke, and that's what the referee is given. Thought he was pointing out towards the corner flag initially as Duke went down under the challenge of Marshall, but the assistant said it was offside. And the referee has gone with his assistant, and it will be a free kick to Hibernian into injury time.
There will be a VAR check though, won't there?
I would think so, because it was inside the penalty area, and yeah, the referee, certainly David Munro, has his finger to his ear. I was getting a word in my ear from the producer, who I think is saying that it was onside. So this will be very interesting, because then you have to ask yourself, was there a foul committed by David Marshall on Duke? And if so, you would have to imagine it's a penalty. I wonder if our in-studio VAR, Cammy Bell, has had a view of that.
Yeah, we've only had one angle of it. He doesn't look offside to me when the ball's played, and it's difficult to see if David Marshall actually makes contact with him. Just seeing it again. I think he might make contact with him. That could be a penalty.
Stephen Kirkland is the VAR for this game. David Monroe, the on-pitch official. And there's a delay here.
A penalty here.
Just at the end of the first half, late drama as Duke and David Marshall stand with the referee as we await the decision. So VAR clearly having a close look at what's happened. Usually the offside one is the easy one to establish because that's a simple case of drawing lines. But then if they say, well, yes, he was onside, then the decision has to be, did David Marshall foul Duke? It seems pretty categorical from what we're hearing that he was onside.
Well, the ball ended up, you know, the other side of David Marshall. He didn't gather the ball,
no.
you know, and over the byline. So, you know, for that to happen, you would imagine Duke get the first touch on it.
Yeah.
It's obviously very close, isn't it? That's why they're taking their time. You know, when the contact was made.
It was the first time Richardson went forward and did really well. A little reverse ball, but as Cammy was saying, it depends on if it was a contact and how much contact from David Marshall on Duke, and was that enough to constitute a penalty kick?
Cammy, any better angles, any further replays so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely onside. We've seen that. Again, it's very, very hard to see how much contact's made. For me, I think there is contact made, and if he's running at that pace, I would say it is a penalty. It's still difficult to see.
Referee's going to come and look at his monitor. There will be an on-field review, and although it's not definite, you often see the decision awarded after the referee comes to look at the monitor. Chris Cadden has been warned to move away from the VAR screen just down in the touchline, just in front of us. He's still in close proximity. He's in danger of being booked if he continues that. Chris Cadden not allowed to come across and walk and look at the screen as the referee is doing so. The home fans think they're going to get a penalty, that's for sure. And this would be real drama late on. Penalty kick to Aberdeen after the on-field review. So the assistant's flag that went up initially was wrong. He was onside Duke, and then he was taken down in the official view by David Marshall, and it will be a chance way beyond the 2 minutes of added on time here in the first half for Aberdeen to take the lead, with Bojan Majowski lining up the penalty.
You know, Marshall was a Scotland hero, wasn't he?
Oh,
with the
yes, he
penalty
was.
kick, so therefore he'll fancy himself, but a huge moment for Aberdeen.
We are 6 minutes into injury time here after that lengthy delay, and Bojan Majowski looking for a 10th goal of the season up against David Marshall. Steps up, left-footed, saved by David Marshall. The left boot went up as Majowski tried to slip it down the middle, and Marshall was able to extend the left boot and knock it clear, and it remains Aberdeen 0, Hibernian 0. What incredible drama at the end of this first half. Still play rages on.
I can't see why the player's raging on.
Oh, it's going to be... Oh, it's another penalty. Oh, my goodness, it's a retake.
Encroachment from David Marshall.
Well, I think we're going to have to get our advice from Cammy Bell again on this one. We don't have replays here at all.
We've just seen it back for the first time. Well, yeah, he's off the line. David Marshall's off the line when he saves it.
It's a poor penalty as well.
It's a shocking penalty, and he's very fortunate he's getting a second opportunity.
Well, is he going to take it? He's certainly asking for it.
Yeah.
He's certainly asking for it, Bojan Majowski.
I'm not sure if I would give him it. I don't know, because it was such a poor penalty, but listen, it's one of those ones, isn't it? You know, you're confident, you're a striker, but...
Oh, you want to put it right, don't you?
You do, Willie, but you know, it's a huge one. If he doesn't score, it could really knock his confidence. But we'll see.
Well, we're into the 8th minute of added on time at the end of this first half. And Bojan Majowski, having just had a penalty saved by David Marshall, has the chance once again. It's into the bottom corner. Marshall went the right way, and then he leathers the ball off Majowski as he went to celebrate, and it's a huge rammy inside the 6-yard box as Aberdeen take the lead at Pittodrie, and the second time of asking Bojan Majowski from the spot. First one was saved by Marshall, who'd come off his line. The retake was awarded. Majowski celebrates, and Aberdeen have the advantage. Deep into injury time here at Pittodrie in the first half. It's Aberdeen 1, Hibernian 0.
Yeah, Majowski who went to Marshall's right, and he almost saved it again. I think Cammy will be tell us a little bit, but you know, he got booked as well. David Marshall, I think, for kicking the ball. I don't know if he was actually kicking it at Majowski. I think he just frustrated that he didn't save it and just kicked it as he ran past him. But either way, I'm sure he picked up a yellow card there.
Yeah, he's so close to it, Jim, as well. His fingertips away from it. I don't think Marsh actually sees him when he kicks the ball away in frustration.
Yeah.
In all fairness to him, I think the ref's done the right thing, a yellow card to defuse the situation.
So Aberdeen have the advantage, although the referee's
in his ear again.
He's just holding the restart up.
But there was other players encroaching. I don't think you'll give it a third.
Well, we're back underway. Porteous goes for goal straight from the kick-off. It's well off target. There's the half-time whistle, and the home fans are really fired up now, having taken the lead just before half-time. Well, it has been a decent watch up until injury time, but my goodness, it really took off in injury time. The penalty ultimately awarded because Duke was taken down by David Marshall, and up stepped Bojan Majowski's first attempt was saved by the boot of David Marshall, but VAR certainly advised the referee that he was off his line when the penalty was taken. So it was retaken by Majowski again. Marshall guessed correctly, but Majowski just had the beating of the former Scotland keeper. That's the difference between the sides at half-time. It's Aberdeen 1, Hibernian 0.
On digital radio,
online at BBC Sport Scotland,
or play BBC Radio Scotland Extra on your smart speaker or BBC Sounds.
this is Sports Sound.
There's no substitute.
Incredible drama right at the death there on the stroke of half-time at Pittodrie. Again, VAR right at the centre of it. 2 weeks now it's been in Scottish football. So many talking points. We'll discuss this in depth on Sports Sound tomorrow afternoon. Cammy Bell alongside me in the studio. We'll get to that in a minute. Cammy Bell, we're just seeing a goal come in. Martin Dowden, another goal at Rugby Park.
Wow, what a goal it was. It's Kilmarnock 1, Livingston 0. A strike from outside the box. It was Stephen Kelly, took a touch with purpose and absolutely drilled it into the bottom corner away from Zach Hemming. I have to say it is deserved. It's Livingston. They lost that early goal to Joe Wright with a header after just 3 minutes, but they've fought their way back into it, been more purposeful, and they've got their reward. Kilmarnock 1, Livingston 1.
Yeah, so what a strike. We've just seen that get in, Cammy, there, and Martin saying they deserve it on the balance of play. Kilmarnock went ahead, Joe Wright with a free header on 4 minutes, and that equaliser there from well outside the area by Bruce Anderson.
Bruce Anderson, and again, it's Kilmarnock have tried to play out from the back and have gave possession away, tried to play through the midfield, and Livingston picked the ball up. But what a strike that is from Bruce Anderson. He must be all of 30 yards out, and he's fired it into the bottom corner past Zach Hemmings, and the pace has just beat him, but it's an unbelievable finish.
Well, we thought that game would be close at Rugby Park, very, very tight, and it's turning out to be the case. We'll get the half-time report from Martin Dowden in a few minutes' time, Cammy, but incredible drama at Pittodrie this evening. So right in the stroke of half-time. So first of all, you called it right away. You said it was onside. That was the correct call. So the next thing they had to do was look at the contact from David Marshall. It looked very, very close. Was it enough? Do you think it was the right decision to award the penalty?
Again, I can see why they've given the penalty. You need to take in a lot into consideration here. The pace that the striker's running at. David Marshall's making himself as big as he can be. for me, it's whether the striker then touches David Marshall and not the other way around. It's so difficult to see. There is contact, but does his leg flick into David Marshall to make him fall over? For me, if that's the case, that what happens, it's not a penalty, but it's so unclear to see. It's really, really difficult one, this. And I think it's just the pace that the players running out. David Marshall's coming out to spread himself. I think there is contact there, so I would say that there possibly is a penalty in that one. But it's so close.
Absolutely the right call to order the retake, because Marshall was well off his line, wasn't he?
Yeah, again, it's clear to see, and but listen, being a ex-goalkeeper, it's so difficult to stay on your line as a goalkeeper in a penalty. But now you've got VAR on your case, you must stay on your line, and you can see David is a good yard off his line, both feet off the line, so it has to be a retake. Willie,
one of the big issues in terms of VAR and sports, and over the past couple of weeks, the complaints from the pundits has been the time it's taking to make these decisions. So right away we saw the pictures coming in with the lines that told us, as Cammy said, clearly he was onside. I don't know why it took so long from that point for the referee to be sent to have a look on the screen.
Well, it shouldn't take that long, Kenny, because it's not VAR that's then making a decision. Once they've made the decision about the offside, then what other decision have they got to make other than thinking that there's an error being made here in terms of the contact with Duke? And if they think that the referee should take another look at it, then they should just invite the referee to take a look at it. I would say, however, that whenever referees are invited to take a look at something, they invariably give the decision, because I think they're feeling that VAR's had a look at that maybe 10 or 12 times, and they think that there's something in it, so the referee has to give it. Now, we can't be describing it there. When goalkeepers come out like that and try to make themselves big, if Duke's got a touch and then goes into the goalkeeper, I don't think that's a penalty. I think if David Marshall comes out and makes an effort for the ball, and doesn't get it and takes Duke down, then it is a penalty. But obviously it's so close, even Cammy is a little bit in doubt. The referee is probably a little bit in doubt. I think VAR is a little bit in doubt. And when you're invited to take another look, I think the referee goes with VAR and makes a decision and gives a penalty.
I totally agree, Willie. And again, seeing it back, it's such a difficult one. As you say, David Marshall does make a genuine attempt to save it, spreads himself. For me, does Duke flick his leg into David Marshall? That's my question on the decision. If he does that, it's not a penalty. But it's so close, and as I say, the speed that the players are going at, it's a real difficult one. But as you say, I totally agree. Once it's offside, send the referee over straight away, and then it's his decision.
I mean, the benefit here, Jim Duffy, is that that was originally called as offside. So VAR has played its part there and awarded a goal, because it was fairly clear. I think it's fair to say it was a right call on offside. So there are obviously benefits, despite the, I don't know if we call them teething problems, but the issues around VAR.
Listen, I think you'll have constant, debate on it. You see it still down south. You see it all the time in European football during the week with handballs and stuff. But it's not teething problems. I don't think so anyway, Kenny. I just think it's, you've got a decision to make, as Cammy said. Did the player instigate the contact from David Marshall, or did David, challenge him? And if he doesn't win the ball, it's a penalty. To be fair to David Munro, when he went over, he literally was there a couple of seconds and said penalty kick. So as the guys have said, maybe we just have to send the referees over a bit earlier. But you're right. Once the offside was sorted out, when that was done very quickly, then the referee's got his decision to make. But listen, you'll always debate whether you think it's the penalty or not. That's always going to be debatable. Now that we'll still be debating that in a year or two's time, regardless of how long we've had VAR. But just in terms of the whole game, Hibs will be absolutely gutted, because they were the better side. They said Aberdeen had two chances and both of them were with Duke, and went through and obviously get the penalty. But overall, for a home team, they were almost playing like an away team, really. They were always playing like a counter-attack team.
Yeah. They were under the cosh. They started extremely well, didn't they? A lot of possession, a lot of good play. But then Hibs took control of it and created a number of little half chances. Maybe 4 or 5 half chances that if they'd have taken, then Aberdeen couldn't complain. But that strike force, I said before the game, Majowski's intelligent, right? He plays with a head, and Duke runs. and he's got pace, and he's got power, and he's got directness, and he's got a bit of calmness too. And he scored some, spectacular goals in his short spell with Aberdeen. So they are a threat, and I think at times Hibs leave themselves open at the back, particularly at set pieces where they throw the 3 centre backs up. I know they're tall and they're good in the air, but I think I would maybe be wanting one of them to stay back just to give you that security, because Aberdeen on the break, that has been their best chances, 2 best chances, 1 goal come out of it. The other one, was a great attempt and a fabulous goal line clearance. So I think Lee Johnson will be in there scratching his head, wondering what's exactly going on. How they're going in at half-time, 1-0 down. He won't be able to justify that. But the good thing is that Hibs, from his point of view, that Hibs are playing well. I think as far as Jim Goodwin's concerned, he's got to try and sort out his team. He's got to try and get a bit more control of the game.
It's been a good game. Sorry to interrupt, Willie. Another goal, Martin Dowden at Rugby Park.
Wow, it's Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 1. Another ball into the box. It's all too easy, and it's Joe Wright again. He looked up at the back post, sent the ball right back to the other post over the goalkeeper. No one could get in there. A double for Joe Wright just on the stroke of half-time. It's Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 1.
What's incredible for me, Cam, is when I think back to Livingston's fantastic performance against Rangers and how they defended their box that afternoon. Was it 73? It was something ridiculous, wasn't it? And it's been really, really sloppy for these 2 goals.
David Martindale will be absolutely fuming with that. Again, it's just it's a good free kick into the box. It's a loopy one towards the back post, and Joe Wright's just got his head on it and looped it back towards the faraway corner, and it's dropped in the far post. But yeah, really soft and not what you expect from Livingston. They're normally a well organised and hard team to beat, but they've given away 2 gifts to Kilmarnock tonight.
We'll get a half-time report from that game. We'll get back to the guys at Pittodrie. Just something that I didn't spot at the time. I think we're all focused on Duke when he went down and the officials. But watching the replays there, Ryan Porteous was absolutely livid. He was right in the face of Duke, accusing him of diving, pointing, screaming at him, looking at the match officials, asking for a booking. But in the end, we saw that the officials awarded a penalty. That penalty was saved by David Marshall, and the retake correctly was ordered because Marshall was off his line, and this time Mayoski did find the bottom corner. So Aberdeen 1, Hibs 0 at Pittodrie at half-time, and we're approaching half-time at Rugby Park. An update to come right here on Sports Sound.
Walk and talk to help raise money for BBC Children in Need.
Get your friends and family together to go for a walk in your favourite spot, challenging yourself to get the steps in to support children and young people where you live.
Join Joe Wicks and me, Michelle McManus, by doing 1 mile, 5 miles or even 100 miles, whatever it is. It could be a challenge or just an opportunity to get outdoors for a chat, because it's good for us all.
Just go to bbc.co.uk/Pudsey to get involved and start fundraising.
Walk and talk for children in need.
On BBC Radio Scotland.
You are listening to Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland. A half-time score from the Championship. It's Cove Rangers 1, Queen's Park 0. Connor Scully with a goal there after 3 minutes. Let's then get to our reporter Martin Dowden. He is at Rugby Park, and you get the half-time report, Martin.
Yeah, half-time here, Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 1, and I'm sure Livingston will feel that is daylight robbery. The home side went in front almost from the outset here. A very simple goal got them on their way. Danny Armstrong swung in a corner, Joe Wright escaped his marker, and he got enough in his header to nod past the returning Shamal George in goal. David Martindale will be fuming at the ease of that concession, but pretty pleased with the response. Livingston got a grip of proceedings without being overly threatening and eventually got a reward. Bambula did have a strike inside the box, claimed handball against the defender. It wasn't given. Ovalai then had a free header from a corner, but nodded it wide when he might have scored or at least hit the target. Then Joe Nubley, slightly rash from an angle, he sent his effort over the top. Bruce Anderson was next. He controlled a ball, fired a shot in. It was too direct, allowing Zach Hemming to parry away. But Anderson was not to be denied. He gathered in a central area, struck a beauty right into the bottom corner to draw Livy level, deservedly so, and you thought they would build from that. Just before half-time, though, it was Kilmarnock who came close. A looping header from Innes Cameron. That clipped the bar and dropped away to safety. But Livingston didn't learn. A ball looped towards the far post. Joe Wright came in, looped the header back over Shamal George, and it dropped beautifully into the corner. David Martindale, as I said, will be furious at both the concessions. Half-time here, Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 1.
So in the live table, that would move Kilmarnock on to 15 points, just 1 point behind Livy, albeit Killy will have played a game more. But very, very tight at Rugby Park this evening. Cammy Bell, Martin saying daylight robbery in terms of Livingston being behind, but very, very sloppy at the back, and two nice headers from Joe Wright. And we spoke before the programme about the squad that Derek McInnes has put together down there at Rugby Park.
Yeah, and again, they've had another opportunity where Innes Cameron's hit the bar from a header, so it just shows you how soft Livingston have been defensively, which is unlike them. David Martindale will not be happy at half-time. Livingston did get a grip of the first half for long periods and had a couple of half opportunities. I wouldn't say they were great opportunities. Their goal, from Bruce Anderson, was a fantastic strike from 30 yards, flew past Zach Hemmings in the Kilmarnock goal. But yeah, listen, if Livingston continue to defend like that, they will concede more goals, and Kilmarnock will be delighted if they can get the 3 points tonight. It'll be a huge victory for them.
Yeah, Kilmarnock 2-1 up on Livingston at half-time. Cove Rangers 1-0 up on Queen's Park also at half-time. Championship action this evening. Let's then get back to Willie and to Jim at Pittodrie. It's actually been a cracking game to watch tonight, Willie, hasn't it?
We've enjoyed it, yeah. I think the intent from both teams are to get forward as fast as they possibly can, and it's not a case of just lumping the ball up the park. They are playing football. It's an open game as well. I think both sides are not really contesting. I think Aberdeen are struggling in the midfield. They're not contesting that midfield, not getting close enough to the Hibs players, and Hibs are dominating that area and playing some slick football and creating, as we said, a number of little half chances. But Aberdeen in the break look really lethal. Duke's pace is causing the Hibs defenders a problem or two. It's not happened particularly often, but in occasions that it does, it's pretty swift and electrifying, and their two best chances have came from hitting in the break. I think the Aberdeen fans are a little bit frustrated, I would suggest, because Hibs are dominating possession and are the better team. We're the better team in the first half, but they'll be happy at half time, won't they? That'll give them encouragement for the second half. But I do feel that Jim Goodwin's got to, look at the performance in the first half, perhaps be contemplating changes, or at least ask, the midfield players. And if you're talking about the three in the middle and the two wide wing backs, then they should be doing better. They should be playing better as a unit, and they should be, stopping the build-up from Hibs. And as far as Lee Johnson's concerned, he'll be totally depressed at half-time with the scoreline, but he'll be more than pleased with the performance.
Absolutely, as you said, Willie, echoing your thoughts, Jim, about how hard this is on Hibs at half-time. I know the teams are just coming out, but that's a tough job for the manager, especially when you've lost the goal so late in the half.
Yeah, and such a controversial goal at that. The Hibs players felt they were hard done by. Obviously the goalkeeper saves it, and then it's a retake. So, I think the first thing Lee Johnson will have to do is get everybody calm again, because he'll be angry, he'll be frustrated, the players will be disappointed, and all those emotions will be running high. But you've got to make sure that you refocus, reset and go again. And he'll be saying, listen, we played well, we just have to tighten up, and our final ball, final shot at cross at goal. But from Aberdeen's perspective, as well I said, Jim Goodwin will be thrilled. They haven't played anywhere near their best, but they're 1-0 up, and if they can defend solidly in the second half, they can keep all 3 points.
Well, we shall find out. Let's get back to Pittodrie. Aberdeen against Hibs with Willie Miller, Jim Duffy and Alistair Lamont.
Thanks again, Kenny. Yeah, let's hope the second half picks up where the first half left off. That goal deep into injury time at the end of the first period from Bojan Majowski from the penalty spot. His 10th of the season, 9 in the Scottish Premiership now. And he did get 2 bites at the cherry, certainly, as Aberdeen come forward looking to quickly add to that advantage. Marshall out his box to clear under a bit of pressure. McCrory battling away there with Henderson. McCrory comes out on top. Henderson still sticking with him. McCrory just knocks it down the right hand side. One for Majowski to chase. Hanlon gets it back to his goalkeeper though, and David Marshall, who I think Jim spotted it. He was booked for. I think you're right that he was. When he booted the ball away in frustration, I think he was just angry about the whole situation. I don't think he tried to hit it off Majowski, but he did as Majowski ran away to celebrate, and it was a yellow card for the Hibs keeper. Forward come Hibs down the left-hand side. Chebraya giving chase. Richardson just trying to shepherd that out of play, and he manages to do so. It will be a goal kick to Aberdeen.
I think he was frustrated that he didn't save it. You know, because I haven't seen a replay, but it looked to me as though he went in the right direction. I think he should have done better in keeping it out. I think if he'd had stronger hands, then he would have done. And I think that's where the frustration lay. Listen, he wasn't trying to blast the ball at a player. He was just.
Can you still be booked for ungentlemanly conduct? Is that still a yellow card offence? I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a tantrum, but I think that's really what it was.
Yeah. You're probably right, Willie. He was very close to it, and he would have been frustrated. Certainly has high standards. Just thinking, Willie, in terms of a touchline ban for managers here, it's not much of a punishment at Pittodrie here, is it? You can see the white hair of Jim Goodwin, the first row of seats behind the dugout. I mean, the players could probably hear him if he wanted them to.
I think Jim gave the authorities a chance to review maybe that situation, because he said, I'm okay at home because I'm right next to the dugout. And I think, well, where's the punishment? There's no real punishment then.
I suppose it's at half time, really, isn't it? You can't really influence things, but beyond that, the message before the match should be pretty clear, and he's certainly able to get instructions to his fellow coaches pretty comfortably in that position. Hibs have a free kick, midway really inside the Aberdeen half, left-hand side. Newell and McGuinness over it. Aberdeen trying to hold the line just at the edge of their own penalty area as Hibs look for an equaliser, which they will feel probably they merit. Newell is to curl it towards the back post. It evades everyone. Hanlon was deepest, but couldn't get anything on it. Can't keep it in either, and it's out for a throw-in over on the far side to Aberdeen. Just about 3 minutes of the second period played here at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 1, Hibernian 0.
I think they've got to do a little bit better with their set plays. They haven't really tested Aberdeen with their crosses.
Cadden sends it into the penalty area, headed away by McCrory, helped on by Scales. Kennett returns it. It's picked up by McGuinness at the edge of the penalty area, out to Cadden, right hand side. It's a good ball, an inviting ball into the 6-yard box. Low ball in, but just too far in front of Henderson. He was the closest player to it. But Cadden, more often than not, will send a good ball in from that right-hand side, won't he?
It's a brilliant ball, isn't it? The only thing it was lacking was a striker to take advantage of it. And Henderson was, but it was a good couple of yards off it, wasn't it? He was never going to get there. But Cadden's been effective. First half, very good first half. I think Coulson, as I said, defensively not the best, better going forward, but this evening he hasn't shown much going forward either, so I think Cadden
poor clearance by David Marshall, really slices it. Chebraya helps him out, knocks it down the left. Newell helps it on up towards Kuharevich, matched by Stewart on the halfway line, breaks kindly for Henderson, lovely little nutmeg, and then he tries to chip Ross from about 45 yards. Ross equal to it. It wasn't going on target in any case. Pretty audacious stuff from Henderson, a little bit ambitious to be honest, and comfortable in the end for the Dutch goalkeeper, who, Willie, I think you've been largely pretty impressed with in his time at Aberdeen so far.
Yeah, he's...
it's a mistake by Bashir, and Majowski could be in here. Cross comes Hanlon, helps it into the penalty area, does Majowski. Hibs deal with that, breaks the way of Clarkson, and then Bashiri just thumps it clear. Sorry, Willie, that was just a chance almost out of nothing as Bashiri made a mess of it.
And he did. He should have dealt with it much more comfortably than he did. Just keeping your eye on the ball and getting the ball under control. The concentration lapsed a little bit. But as far as Roos is concerned, Joe Lewis is sitting on the bench. He's not getting a sniff at it. And Joe Lewis is a good goalkeeper. Had his moments last season, but finished the season strongly. Roos coming in has been, pretty stable. Had 2 or 3 outstanding saves as well, and he's been a real addition to the squad.
Joe Newell takes the throw on left-hand side for Hibs. Instead of the long throw this time, he just plays it to Chebraya, gets it back once more, but the cross is charged down by Richardson. Breaks the way of McGuinness. It's good defending though from Aberdeen. McGuinness is snapped in and won it back from Ramadani. Then Newell goes in on Ramadani. Did he go slightly over the top? Ramadani certainly rolling about as if he did, holding his shin, and it's out of play. Certainly the referee just comes across to see Ramadani, who gets to his feet and limps away. It will be a throw-in, and I think Newell will go along with this one from the left-hand side. And the referee just telling him to hold on just for a moment. I'm not sure if it's because he's checking something. Certainly Joe Newell lining up the long throw-in. Here it comes this time, into the edge of the 6-yard box, headed away though by Barron. Chabraya heads it back towards Aberdeen goal, but Aberdeen get it clear, and here comes Duke down the right-hand side. Chabraya trying to get back at him. Duke has to just check his run. Tries to flick it beyond Chabraya, but he's done well, the left wing back for Hibernian, and manages to get it cleared up to Henderson, but Ramadani back there to win the ball back for the Dons. Plays it back to Stewart. Almost 7 minutes of the second half gone. Aberdeen 1, Hibs 0. Here's Scales crossing the halfway line, away from Kuharevich. Still Scales comes forward, plays it out to Coulson, left hand side. Crossing opportunity comes off Cadden. It will be a corner kick to Aberdeen over on the far side.
Yeah, someone again. Well, there wasn't. I mean, again, that long throw, didn't pick up the second ball, and Aberdeen on the counter attack. And Duke was a little bit unlucky, although to be fair to Chabraya, I think he defended it well.
He did. The thing about Hibs is that they're so open at the set pieces, throw-ins. They send the 3 centre backs up. They're always chasing it back when Aberdeen win possession, and the throw-ins and the free kicks haven't been good enough.
Clarkson from the left-hand side, right-footed, curls it in into the 6-yard box. Majowski! Number 2 for Aberdeen, number 2 for Bojan Majowski, who just lost his marker and headed simply past David Marshall, who was rooted to the spot. No chance for the keeper, but Majowski was left all alone, 6 yards out, to head his 11th goal of the season. It's Aberdeen 2, Hibernian 0.
You won't get an easier chance than that as a striker, will you? I mean, incredibly poor defending, and all Majowski has to do. I mean, it's a great corner taken from Clarkson. He curls it into a dangerous area, but I think it's Joe Newell that loses Majowski totally. He just steps back the park 2 or 3 steps, and the ball lands in his head, and he just pops it into the back of the net under no pressure whatsoever.
A long way back for the Hibernian now, but listen, the ball one's decent. It's whipped down, there's a good bit of pace on it. Majowski's movement's quite decent because he goes in and then comes back out, and you know, he's a classic header back across the goalkeeper again. Hibernian, no players on the post or anything like that, losing the runner, as Willie said there. It looks like Newell, sort of very, very simple goal to lose. From Aberdeen's perspective, they won't care. 2-0, they're in total command of this game now. Yeah, 10th goal in the Premiership for Bojan Majowski, another one who's proven to be a good signing for Jim Goodwin. Spent a bit of money on him in the summer from MTK Budapest at the North Macedonian International. He's repaying that with a couple of goals this evening, either side of half-time. Here's Cadden with a cross into the arms only though of Keller Ross inside the 6-yard box. Jim Goodwin up on his feet behind the behind the technical area, just trying to get instructions on to a couple of his players there. Not quite sure what the instruction was. I think it's to Duke and Majowski there. But you'll be happy with the way things are going, certainly. Sorry, they've just went 2-0 up, and you know, they're obviously allowing Cadden a free cross, and I mean, didn't get it quite right, you know, Chris Cadden this time, but you know, that's what you don't want to do is lose concentration immediately after you've scored that second goal. So I think it was more just make sure they're tight for the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Chabraya's pass looking for Kuharevich is cut out by Clarkson. Clarkson equally gives it back to Chabraya, loose with his pass, and Chabraya leaves it for Newell on the halfway line. But as you say, Jim, it's a long way back for Hibernian, who've lost 10 away matches in the Premiership in 2022, which is more than any other club, and they haven't lost more than 10 in a single year since 2011. But they are heading for defeat right now with 35 minutes to play, unless they can turn things around big style here as Porteous finds Henderson, and now it's Cadden on the goal line, tries to get it across goal. It's a good challenge by Coulson, to prevent that, but it will be a Hibernian corner, and they could do with striking back good and early in the second half to give them a fighting chance of taking something from the game.
And they need better delivery, that's for sure. Their deliveries have been so poor that they do have a lot of aggression, a lot of height, but they've got to get a better quality ball in.
Newell right hand side to deliver, left footed, curls it deep. Porteous rises, wins it. Second ball's won by an Aberdeen head, as is the third, as Duke gives chase down the left hand side this time. And he's just run out of play there. Thrown to Hibernian eventually, quickly taken. Porteous for Newell, halfway line. Cross to Bashiri and out to the left hand side for Chibraya, rather isolated. He'll have to come back to Bashiri. And all Hibs' first half good work has really been for naught, because they couldn't find a goal, and they do find themselves 2 goals down. With Aberdeen scoring through Bojan Majowski with a first half injury time penalty at the second time of asking, and then a second half header. But really criminal defending, you'd have to say, from Hibs at the second goal, certainly, as Majowski was left all alone. Here's Bashiri just outside the centre circle in the Aberdeen half, leaves it for Newell, plays the pass and plays the 1-2 with Henderson, back with Henderson, about 25 yards from goal, turns into Scales, loses out, and now it's Barron just trying to knock it over the top, looking for Majowski. Good first touch from Bashiri, and a good second one back to Marshall. Good defending from the big Belgian, and he gets it back from his goalkeeper, as Majowski trying to latch onto the long ball and hone in on a hat-trick. Here's Porteous crossing the halfway line, right hand side, plays it infield for McGuinness. McGuinness out to the right to Cadden, midway inside the Aberdeen half. Now it's Henderson still on the right hand side, into the penalty area it comes. Kurevich can't climb and get anything on it, swept away by McCrory. And now it's Kenna back out to Cadden. Cadden's ball into the boxes, well defended by Stewart, out for a throw in on the far side to Hibernian, quickly taken. Hibs have to do everything that bit more quickly now, as Cadden knocks it back to Porteous. First time ball in's a poor one, defended at the edge of the box, not a great defensive clearance however, and it's picked up by Chibraya, left hand side, swings it in. Stewart climbs highest, Clarkson helps it on from the edge of his penalty area, and Hibs struggling, Jim, just to carve anything out that's clear cut.
Yeah, I mean, Aberdeen have got their 3 centre backs in good positions, you know, they're compact, they're all together, they're not leaving any space in between.
This is a decent opportunity. McGuinness right hand side into the penalty area, couldn't really find a decent ball in though, McGuinness, and Aberdeen deal with it once more, and forward they come, and the danger is for Hibs that they get caught in the counter attack again, but Barron can't make anything of it. Hanlon steps in, forward he comes, leaves it to Newell, midway inside the Aberdeen half. Real tempo to the game right now as Hibs try and work their way back into it. Cadden across goal, and again it's well gathered by Ross inside his 6-yard box. It was fizzed in by Cadden, but Ross was equal to it, and it's Aberdeen 2, Hibernian 0 as we approach the hour mark.
It's good goalkeeping, isn't it? You know, Cadden's been the threat. You know, I think Jim Goodwin down there, you would be tempted to actually, you know, maybe even put on Mackenzie, who's a slightly better defender than Coulson, to get and chop at Cadden, because he's been a threat, you know, throughout this game for Hibs, and he drills one in there, and Roos, he's got to make sure of it, and he does.
Hanlon with a poor defensive error. He was trying to head it back to David Marshall. He got it all wrong, and he just drifts out for a corner kick to Aberdeen. Jaden Richardson thought about chasing it to try and keep it in, but the corner will do for Aberdeen, particularly with the 2-goal advantage, and you can hear the home fans right behind their side, particularly those in the red shed behind David Marshall's goal, very much enjoying their evening, having gone the 2 goals up. And it will be Clarkson to deliver, this time from the right hand side. The previous one from the left provided a goal for Majowski. What can Clarkson do this time? Right footed, out swinger. Scales can't get there, comes to the edge of the box, Ramadani! And it's 3 for Aberdeen. Might have taken a nick on its way through as Ramadani caught it sweetly from the edge of the box, down into the ground, and it skipped off the turf, past David Marshall, and on the hour, it is Aberdeen 3, Hibernian 0.
Yeah, well, in the first half, Hibernian were picking all the second balls up. In the second half, it's been turned around. The ball's been knocked to the corner, it's headed, knocked to the edge of the box. Ramadani First onto it, as you say, now hits it, doesn't need it again, doesn't hit it 100%, but keeps good technique, hits it into the ground, goes through a ruck of players. David Marshall completely blinded, and the ball just, again, no one in the post or in that area. And again, one of the Aberdeen players that got booked, I think, for Ramadani for celebrating, I think. But listen, 3-0. And I think the second half, I don't know whether it's tactics, as Jim Goodwin said, but they've certainly put more balls over the top. That the corner came from sloppy defending from Paul Hanlon, gave away a needless corner from a long punt up the pitch. And I said, again, you can play, classic football, if you want to say that, playing all the short passes, but now and again turning defenders, and that's what's happened there to get in the corner. And for me, I mean, Aberdeen really should be home and hosed now at 3-0.
It's been straightforward, hasn't it? You get that goal just before half time, and then 2 set pieces in the second half, poor defending, and a little bit of good fortune, I think, for Ramadani's strike there.
Here is Duke, goes down just outside the penalty area and wins the free kick, as the Aberdeen fans howled for the decision, hoping it was inside. But David Munro was in a good position, the referee, to point out that it was just outside. It will be a free kick. It's still a good position. It's well left of centre, but nonetheless a chance perhaps to try and beat David Marshall for a 4th time. It was Ilber Ramadani's first Aberdeen goal. That one, no doubt. No real surprise that he celebrated as he did, going in towards the fans behind David Marshall's goal, and that was what earned them the yellow card. Surprised there was no booking there. Was it Joe Newell who brought him down in camera, maybe ought to tell us. But certainly it was he was going through Duke, and to me, if he's by the player there, he's got an opportunity to shoot a goal. It's not a red card, but I thought it was a yellow card. It's an Aberdeen free kick as Hibs prepare to make a substitution, but it's Duke over the free kick, goes for a goal. It's a good save from David Marshall, up and over the top of his crossbar. Some technique from Duke there. I mean, it's incredible the action he got on the ball, Willie.
What kind of technique was it? I mean, he's running straight at the ball.
The old knuckleball, isn't it?
It's almost like, it's not a toe basher, but I think he gets it with the instep, but it's strange technique, isn't it?
Yeah, well, as I say, they call it knuckleball. I don't know where the phrase comes from. But it's up and down. And listen, good technique and a decent save from Marshall.
Another corner for Hibs to try and defend, and it comes from the left-hand side. Better defending this time as Ramadani again picks up at the edge of the box, can't get it back towards the goal, but here's Barron, and there's real energy about Aberdeen now. Really got their tails up. McCrory back into the penalty area, defended by Bashiri. Newell heads it clear down the left-hand side. It's Chabraya over the halfway line. Stewart will go and tidy things up for Aberdeen, or at least try to. He's knocked the ball out of play. Quick word from Tyrone Smith, their pitchside reporter, in terms of that Hibs change that's coming.
Yeah, the man that's waiting patiently, it has to be said. He's been stripped and ready to go for a few minutes now is Elias Melkerson. Obviously, Lee Johnson's desperate to try and get some sort of foothold back in this game, and it looks like the first step he hopes towards doing that will be bringing on Elias Melkerson.
Thanks, Tyrone. Yeah, well, they've got, 26 minutes or thereabouts to do this, but it's going to take some comeback, that's for sure, as Ewan Henderson gives way, and on comes Elias Melkerson, as Tyrone said, to try and turn the tide. Chabraya back to Hanlon, and then Bashiri on the halfway line.
I'm really surprised when they took Ewan Henderson off. I thought he played well, and he was a bit creative. Maybe not as much the second half, because
here's McGuinness, forces the corner for Hibernian. Sorry, Jim, carry on.
No, just because Aberdeen have been dominant in scoring the goals, but I thought maybe better taking somebody like Paul Hanlon off. Maybe and he was the most experienced player. But if you're going to have a go now, you've got to take one of your defenders off and maybe put an extra attacker on. So a little bit surprised at that one.
Yep, I hear what you're saying. Corner kick to Hibs, right hand side. Newell delivers. It's a good looking ball. Roche comes and gets a good fist on it once more. Returned into the penalty area. Stewart repels it this time. Now it's Kurevich. Gets a shot in. There's another good save from Roche as Newell came in and fired that goalwards. And again, the Dutch keeper was equal to it, and now he's grabbed the ball back into the box with two hands. There was a faint claim in there for a handball at one stage from Hibernian, but I think it was more in hope than expectation. But a good stop again from Ross on the shot from Newell.
He had to get down really sharply, although, you know, to be honest, when you go down like that, you want to try and make sure that the ball goes wide rather than goes back into play. And he's a little bit fortunate, you know, it's a good save, but he's a little bit fortunate that it doesn't fall, you know, kindly to a Hibs player there to inside the box to stroke it home. But, you know, Hibs still intent and going forward and creating opportunities. I think the game is beyond them, I've got to say. You know, with Aberdeen's lethal touch and just before half time and then into the second half. And I think at times they've got themselves to blame, particularly the second and third goal. I think poor defending from Hibs.
Yeah, but definitely there's been a change, you know, in approach from Aberdeen the second half. Well, definitely more direct. We've seen even Roos getting the ball there. First half it was all rolling out to the back three or building for the back. That's 2 or 3 times in the second half. He's kicked it long, just tried to turn the Hibernian rearguard and you know, and picking up the second balls. And it's definitely worked for Aberdeen the second half. So if Jim Goodwin has done that, I'm sure Tyrone can ask him after the game. You know, listen, it's really good management.
Cheers from, I think, both sets of supporters there as the ball belted off a policeman's head on the far side. In comes the cross from the right hand side from Hibernian. Again, Stewart is able to rise and head it clear, and then Duke picks up and tries to run Bashiri on the outside down the left. Good challenge from Bashiri to knock it out of play. Well, Hibs have to take chances now if they're to have any chance of getting back into the game, and that could leave them exposed, as Duke tried to do there, but good defending by Bashiri. Hibernian's away woes continue. They've only won a couple away from home this season, and those came against Ross County and St Johnstone. Lost their other 4, and it looks like that's going to turn into 5 this evening as we hit the midway point in the second period. Good challenge over there by Scales, for whom the victory will be perhaps sweeter than most, having been red carded at Easter Road, with Aberdeen in a good position at the time in the game, and the tide rather turned on that sending off and the penalty that was awarded pretty harshly, as I recall. Here's Bashiri for McGuinness, but he's been forced back the way. And here's Porteous. Cadden now just inside the Aberdeen half, but again going back the way to Bashiri. Bashiri has to turn it back to David Marshall, closed down quickly there by Coulson. And certainly the goal just before half time, I mean, clearly the opening goal in any game often has such an impact, but it has really proved pivotal because Aberdeen have just taken such energy from it, haven't they?
Yeah, energy, unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fabulous time to get a goal, isn't it? And then the circumstances, you know, makes it even more sweeter.
Melkerson out to Chabraeli, ball in, Melkerson goalwards, it's in the net.
Offside.
Oh, the flag's gone up against Kurevich, who got the final touch inside the 6-yard box. Melkerson's effort might well have been goal bound without Kurevich. Difficult to tell from this vantage point, but Kurevich turned it into the net, and the flag instantly went up on the far side. And Hibs denied the goal, it would appear, although of course it will be checked.
Now sitting waiting again, referee having to wait for the signal, see whether it is offside. There's Cammy Bell, our VAR man. Maybe he was sharp the last time, said it was onside.
Well offside for that one.
Would it have found its way into the net without the touch from Kurevich, Cammy?
I don't think it would have, to be honest, and it's clear he's a good yard offside, to be honest.
Well, let's nip to Rugby Park. Actually, there's a penalty for Martin Dowden to tell us about.
Yes, and it is a penalty to Livingston. It's currently Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 1. The ball was thrown into the box. Bambula got a head on it. A hand went up. It was very close to Bahambula. It appeared to be Sean Kelly, or Chris Stokes rather, that got his head or his arm on that. The penalty is just about to be taken, and it's slotted home confidently by Sean Kelly. Sends the keeper the wrong way. There was a long VAR check. It was eventually cleared and given, and it's Livingston back on terms. Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 2.
Thanks, Martin. This one's still being checked, I have to tell you. So Cammy Bell has called it a good deal quicker than the VAR officials in Clydesdale House. David Munro, the referee here, still with his finger to his ear, which is now the international sign language for VAR check.
I must admit, from here he looked offside, Jim. What did you think?
Yeah, it did look as if he was ahead of Scales, but it's hard to see whether he's on the move, whether he's just maybe timed it. But
now then,
obviously
could be
They're saying it's onside. They've just put lines up here. We've seen it on the screens. In the far away, he still kind of looks offside on that showing. But again, if you go by the lines, they're saying it's onside.
Referee gives a goal.
Wow.
And Cammy Bell's been overruled controversially, but Kuharevich has his third goal in 3 games, knocking in from Melkerson's flick. And after a bit of a delay, the goal has been given. Hibs have a way back into the game, perhaps. It's Aberdeen 3, Hibernian 1.
When you see it, Al, when you see it back, it's Richardson on the far side that's playing him on. It's very, very tight still as well. But again, obviously, you're going by the technology that he is onside, but it's a tight call again. VAR have got it right, though.
That's you getting your excuses in there, Cammy. Anyway, 3-1 it is, and what with just under 20 minutes of the match remaining, we'll have another good few minutes added on for that stoppage. So yeah, Hibs have about 20 minutes. Jim, an unlikely lifeline.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from Hibs' perspective, it's positive. Again, as I say, they've got a ball fast across the goal, and the striker gambles and gets the goal. So fair play to Lee Johnson for getting the 2 strikers up the top, but it's still a long way back, and Aberdeen really should be in control of the game now, and they've just got to be professional and manage the game properly and see it out, because it'd be calamitous if they didn't. And I think obviously Aberdeen are going to make a substitution now, so I don't know whether that's just to tighten things up while or not.
Tyrone, news of that substitution?
Well, it's Watkins. Sorry, on you go.
Yeah, the man that's being introduced to the fray from the Dons is Marley Watkins, and it's Louis Duke Lopez that's making his way off the pitch, as you can hear, getting a rapturous applause after his efforts this afternoon from the home support.
He deserves that applause, doesn't he? I mean, I think he's been a real find. He's got a trick or two. He's fast. He's direct. He can score goals. I think he's a lethal weapon for Aberdeen this season.
Yeah, he hasn't got a goal, but he's obviously the penalty, and he's been instrumental with that fantastic effort from the free kick as well. He's got his team up the pitch. I'll be interested to see whether they just go with the 2 up top with Watkins, because sometimes Watkins can play wider, and maybe trying, as you mentioned, they're trying to do something with Cadden in that side, just trying to maybe stop his runs.
Well, I think he's been the major threat, Cadden, and you would have thought that Jim Goodwin would be thinking along these lines. We'll just need to wait and see. I was just going to say the assistant on the far side had a good game tonight, is he not?
I was just thinking that, really, yeah. Flagged wrongly for offside for both that goal and the penalty that was ultimately awarded to Aberdeen at the end of the first half, as Hibernian have a free kick on the halfway line. Just to tell you, there's 16,479 inside Pittodrie tonight, and they are being treated to a really good game of football, and most of them will be enjoying it, albeit the 2,000 who have travelled to follow Hibs have just been given something to cheer about in the last few minutes, and a bit of hope. And I just wonder, that little seed of doubt will have been sown in the minds of some of the Aberdeen players. Really, it's important they have the mentality to see this game out.
Well, it's important that they're organised and they defend properly. You've got Dukov now, which takes away the threat of that quick counter in my book anyway. Watkins is a good player, but he's not got the pace that Duke has. Long
thrown into the Aberdeen box, comes back to McGuinness. McGuinness back into the 6-yard box. Good take again by Roast. Hayden Coulson picked up a yellow card just a moment or so ago. Just a bit of a coming together, really, over on the far side. Just over 15 minutes left to play of the 90, but there will be added on time, and a good few minutes of that, you would imagine, with Aberdeen leading by 3-1.
There's Roos kicking it long again, and I say these the first half are building over time, second half definitely trying to get in behind more often, but Aberdeen, it's all about game management. You don't have to force it. Hibs have to take more risks, and you can maybe capitalise on the counter again.
Here's Melkerson, who was heavily involved in that goal that Hibs got back since his introduction. He's looked sharp as Cadden plays it back to Porteous. Porteous clips it forward to the edge of the penalty area. Too much on it though for Newell to do anything with. and it's gone behind, much to the delight of many of the Aberdeen fans who are slow to let Ryan Porteous know how pleased they are about that, as Kurevich has to go and retrieve the ball with Keller Roos in no hurry to take the goal kick. There's going to be another change for Hibernian here.
Campbell's the man that's coming on, and I think it's Cal McGuinness that's making way this time for Hibernian.
Yes, indeed.
See the change in tactics, though, Jim. Why play these balls that are definitely not on in the first half, and invite Hibs to really dominate possession? And to be honest, you know, the turning point is that goal just before half time, because it was a poor first half from Aberdeen.
Maybe he thought that, you know, Hibs maybe would quite press with just playing that one out-and-out striker with Henderson off him, and maybe get a little bit of time to build, but it didn't happen. But certainly, I mean, we don't know if he's changed it, but it looks as if he has.
Here's Watkins, tries to thread in for Majowski, he'll come to the back post, it's Clarkson, huge chance, oh, back heel, oh, it's delightful from Leighton Clarkson to restore Aberdeen's 3-goal advantage. It really opens up for Leighton Clarkson as Watkins' ball into the box almost found Majowski. He couldn't score the hat-trick, but it came to Clarkson, took a couple of touches and then back-heeled it into the net. Quite wonderful from Clarkson. It's Aberdeen 4, Hibernian 1, game over.
Oh, to be young and to be talented, Jim.
Brilliant.
I used to be young. Well, forget about the other thing, but that was a magnificent piece of entertainment, wasn't it? You know, Watkins coming on and sliding the ball across the face of the Hibs defence. And it looked as though it looked as though Clarkson had lost the opportunity.
Yeah, it looks like he ran past it almost.
Yeah, you know, the ball's going back. He's got his back to the goal. He's got to try and manufacture something, and my goodness, you know, the little back heel was just something of beauty.
Fantastic imagination and you know, creativity. You know what I mean? As Willie said, he's actually ran past the ball, he's taken inside the defender, ran past it. But that awareness and composure and quality to a little reverse back heel and that's what, you know, you've got 16,500 people here tonight. No, you take the Hibs fans, a fantastic support, but the Aberdeen fans want to see that. They've been royally entertained in the second half with their team. It was a fantastic football leading up to it, although I do think Bashiri, I think it was, that let the ball under his foot, but you know, Aberdeen have certainly just been absolutely dynamic in the second half.
There's just been a change for Aberdeen just in the aftermath of that goal. Jack McKenzie coming on from Hayden Coulson. It's the like-for-like change in the left wing-back role as Hibs come forward once more. It comes to nothing behind for a goal kick. Leighton Clarkson, Willie, you've seen him probably score a couple of real crackers for Aberdeen. I think there were a couple from distance at least that I remember seeing, but that was just audacious, wasn't it?
I think his debut, wasn't it?
It was his debut, yeah. And you expect that from him every week now, but he is a talented young player. You know, him and Conor Barron, you know, two youngsters in the middle of the park. Don't think it's been their best department, I must admit, but that was just a joy to watch. You know, you don't see that in too many occasions. You don't see that imagination, that initiative taken. He's certainly one for the future. In fact, he's one for the now, isn't he?
Yeah. And fair play to Marley Watkins as well. He's come on, so the manager's made the substitution, and he's had an impact as well, setting up the pass. So, you know, that's always terrific when you're a manager, if you do that and the player comes on and makes quite almost an immediate impact.
Yeah, it was a fourth goal of the season for Leighton Clarkson, young man on loan from Liverpool, and you're never quite sure. There's so much talent comes through these huge English clubs. Will he ever go on to make the breakthrough there? Difficult to tell. Will he be a good player somewhere? Almost certainly. He's showing that already, as Willie says, a player for the now, not just for the future. Aberdeen certainly enjoying having him this season. Here come Hibs though, trying to again reduce the arrears. Can't do so, and the ball's played forward. Marshall well out of his box to clear. We've got 10 minutes to play. Aberdeen not quite coasting to victory, but beginning to approach that now with the scoring of the fourth goal just after we were asking ourselves, could Hibs somehow get back and reduce the arrears further after making it 3-1. Well, that was quickly answered by Leighton Clarkson with a resounding no chance.
Yeah, Yeah, but we thought that Hibernian have got to take risk. You know, we knew that, but it's still, you know, they've got enough experience at the back there, enough quality to deal with counter-attacks better, and they haven't dealt with it at all in the second half, Willie. I mean, they've been all over the place in the second half defensively. You know, David Marshall did a good save from the free kick. You know, obviously Aberdeen have scored 3 goals. And you know, they've just looked. I mean, someone's flicked a switch, and you know, and their energy is dissipated in the second half.
A couple of changes coming for Hibernian, Tyrone.
Yeah, as you say, a couple of changes for Hibs. Lewis Stevenson's coming on, replacing Chabraya, and the other player who has come on, well, it's Kucherevic that has come off, and it's Eli Yuan that's the man coming on.
Again, just like for like swaps, those 2 changes for Hibernian, but I imagine Lee Johnson has just about given up on taking anything from this game with just 9 minutes of the 90 remaining.
I think the thing is, Jim, you know, you get one back and it goes to 3-1. The next goal has got to be yours, so you've got to make sure, you've got to be a little bit adventurous, but you've got to make sure that you're organised at the back, and they haven't been. And for Aberdeen to be able to romp the way they did, and for Watkins to get them out of space that he got to drill that ball across at that moment in time, not good enough. And as you said, there's plenty of experience here at the back, but they're not using it.
Here's Bashiri, clips it forward, looking for the substitute Yuan. He's got goal side. Oh, he cracks it off the frame of the goal, turned back towards goal, and is well off target in the end. Yeah, the flag was up against Kyle McGuinness, but there was no danger of that threatening the goal.
Kyle McGuinness, because he's on the bench.
You'll be glad that's
George Campbell, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Campbell. Yeah. That served me right for pulling you up about Nicky Cadden earlier on.
That's all right, mate. No, listen, you know, from Johan's quick, and he gets on the blind side of Scales there, and you know, hits the bars. I don't know if the flag's went up for Johan, because obviously the assistant's got to wait until the action's finished, but either way it's a offside, and Aberdeen can knock it long again and squeeze the game.
It was a good effort from Johan, certainly. His first involvement, having just come off the bench. Scored his first Hibs goal against Celtic in that 6-1 defeat, and this one's been almost as bruising, this defeat. 4-1 thus far, with about 7 minutes of the 90 remaining.
It's amazing how they're away form for both of these teams. It's like two different teams that turn up for home and away matches. I mean, Hibs at home and Aberdeen at home have been immense. I mean, I don't know how many goals but the amount of goals are scored. Well, you've been absolutely loving it, Vittorio, this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3s and 4s, isn't it? You know, most home games there has been excitement. There's been anticipation.
What's the difference away from home? What happens? You know, because they're completely different side away from home.
Yeah, I mean, as a new side, you know, it's 11 new players brought in, you know, during the summer. Normally they take a little bit of time to gel, but they gel okay at Pittodrie, but on the road, not so good.
Cove Rangers have gone 2-0 up on Queen's Park. Queen's Park had the chance to go level with top of the Championship here this evening, and doesn't look like that's going to happen. Oh, there's been a goal at Kilmarnock as well. It was 2-2 last we heard between Killie and Livy. Who's gone in front? Martin Dowden.
Well, the fight back might be complete. It's Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 3, and it's substitute Christian Montano. He got inside the box on the left-hand side, squared the ball across goal. The ball was tried to be cleared by Chris Stokes. He made an absolute mess of it and managed to put the ball into his own net. It's an own goal, and it's Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 3.
Wow. So Livingston, who started the evening in 9th, will go 6th if they can hold on to that victory.
A good side, Livingston. I've seen them a couple of times this year. They're a good side, but it's one of those games tonight. Yeah, I think most people thought it could be 0-0, 1-0, but 3-2. So plenty of goals for Martin down at Rugby Park.
Plenty of goals for you to catch on Sports Scene this evening. We've got highlights of both tonight's Premiership games. So 5 here, 5 at Rugby Park, with a few minutes left in this one, about maybe 15 or 20 left down at Rugby Park, I would imagine.
About that here with the amount of time it took for VAR.
Exactly. Yeah, Sports Scene is on tonight at 11:30. It is a late one, but maybe worth staying up for, I would suggest, on BBC One Scotland this evening. As Aberdeen take the throw-in down the right-hand side. 4-1 they lead with 5 minutes of the 90 left to play. Another bruising night on the road for Hibernian, who will be leapfrogged by tonight's opponents. Aberdeen will go 2 points above Hibs with still a game in hand on them. Both sides in midweek action. Aberdeen actually away to Livingston on Tuesday. We'll have that one live for you on Sports Sound. And also on Tuesday, Hibs are at home to Ross County as they look to recover from what looks like an inevitable defeat this evening.
Becomes a massive match for Hibs now, you know. I mean, just if they want to get back on track before the international break, or the World Cup break.
Here's Hanlon on the halfway line. 4 minutes to play. Bashiri for Campbell. Campbell out to the right-hand side. Cadden just clips it forward, looking for Yuan. Newell picks up on the right. Infield it comes to Campbell. Campbell takes a touch and then plays it to Stevenson. Now Hanlon, edge of the penalty area, flashes it into the edge of the 6-yard box, away by Stewart, who has defended well all evening, it has to be said. Cleared virtually everything that's come his way inside that penalty area. Here's Campbell for Hibernian, looking to find a bit of space. Stevenson. Hanlon once more, the two Hibs veterans combined. It's a great ball in from Hanlon, and Joe Newell was only inches away from connecting inside the penalty area, but it drifts away harmlessly in the end. Hanlon couldn't have put in a better ball there, but it remains Aberdeen 4, Hibs 1.
It's a magnificent ball from Hanlon. You know, he's done everything he could possibly do. He's put in between defender and goalkeeper, you know, a little bend on it, and he's just waiting for somebody to come in. And Joe Newell, I don't know if he just lost the flight of the ball, but you know, it looked as if he just had to stick a leg out and it would have been 4-2. But you know, again, you know, I think the fact is that Aberdeen now are maybe too many players back. They had 11 players behind the ball there, and they had no outlet.
Hanlon winning the header, fired forward by Ramadani, who got himself on the score sheet earlier. There's Porteous. Now Campbell out to the left-hand side for Hanlon. Joe Newell, halfway line, steps forward. Aberdeen just trying to see the game out. 4-1 they lead. McKenzie back there with the defensive header. Hibs pick up the loose ball. It's Cadden on the angle of the box. Into the penalty area it comes. Knocked away though by Aberdeen. And Hanlon can only turn that back to David Marshall with 2 minutes of the 90 remaining.
You know, you look at the game though, and Hibs haven't played badly tonight.
Yeah, here's Melkerson inside the box, has to turn away from goal though. The shot wasn't really on, he couldn't get himself set, and now he's been tracked by Richardson. I agree with you, Willie. Here's Lewis. Stevenson now. Kennett at the edge of the box, goes for goal. Wild effort from the midfielder, and almost into the final minute of the 90.
Well, they have defensively. They've been terrible in the second half defensively.
In the second half, yeah. You know, in terms of being creative, in terms of playing in the front foot, you know, going forward, I think they've done okay. I think they controlled the game in the first half. I think they haven't been smart enough in the second half to deal with the threat of Aberdeen in the break, and certainly they haven't been smart enough defending the two set pieces that they got the second and third goal. So, you know, there's a lot to like about Hibs, but there's also a lot on the negative side as well. But I don't think, you know, that they'll walk away from this game thinking that they weren't in it, you know, and they didn't play their part in it. And at 4-1, it looks as though it's a real thumping. Has it been a real thumping?
I think the second half, we heard Lee Johnson said he looks at performances, and he was on about and he said before the game, if performances are high, you know, we'll get those results. First half performance, I think, was good. It was more than good. You know, they didn't capitalise on their chances. But the second half is way below the standard you would expect from Hibernian. And I think, you know, that's the worrying side that they've still got to rectify. Is that, you know, you could lose a goal, you might lose 2 tops. You can't be losing 4, Willie.
I agree with you.
Two men who knew how to keep the ball out of the net between them, Jim Duffy and William Miller. Double change there for Aberdeen in the final minute of the 90. There's 5 minutes of added on time, and on have come Ryan Duncan and Matty Kennedy for Majowski and Clarkson, two of the goal heroes for Aberdeen this evening. We're into those 5 minutes of added on time. Aberdeen well on their way to moving back into third position as Newell clips the ball forward. He was asking a lot there.
Yeah, Lewis Stevenson, but it's not really a ball for Stevenson. You know, he's an experienced player and he's always willing, but he certainly doesn't have that pace to get in behind you know, the Aberdeen defence there and pick the ball up, and it's comfortable for Roos now again. As I said, the whole second half he's just knocked it long, but that's worked perfectly for Aberdeen.
Appearance number 553 for Lewis Stevenson in a Hibs jersey this evening.
And I think Aberdeen have just went into that. It's a 5 now at the back, isn't it? And to be honest, most of the second half it's been the 5 at the back, and I think Mackenzie coming on has sorted that problem. McCadden, I think Mackenzie's a better defender than Coulson, and you know, he's got a little bit closer to Cadden to thwart that threat. But really, that for me has been the major threat from Hibs this evening was Cadden, and he's put in some wonderful crosses into the box.
Here's Kennett out to the right hand side to Cadden, flicked forward. It's Yuan being forced back the way by Scales, tries to thread the pass forwards.
Hit the ref, I think.
Yeah, it did hit the ref, yeah, exactly, and that's what took it away from Joe Newell, and Hibs will get the drop ball in their favour. It's not going to do them all that much good in the closing 3 minutes of injury time. 4-1 they trail, and it'll ultimately go down as an emphatic defeat for the Easter Road side. Well, a good night's work for Jim Goodwin and his men, who once again win at home. Here's Bashiri, slack ball from him given to Richardson. Melkerson makes the challenge on Richardson. Out for a throw in on this near side to the Dons.
They've been clinical, Aberdeen. You know, the chances they've created, they've played intelligently. You know, I think when you look at the Ibrox performance, how open they were, they've never looked like that tonight. They've been much more compact defensively, and anything that Hibs have had to create, they've had to work for it. And even when you know they've got the goals, it hasn't been gung-ho. They haven't lost their shape at all. They've been pretty well disciplined throughout.
Here's Campbell, edge of the penalty area. It'll fall nicely for Newell on the turn. He lashes it over the top of the crossbar. It just isn't happening for Hibs tonight. They were good in the first half particularly, didn't have any goals to show for it, and as you so often find, Jim, you don't score when you're on top, you end up paying for it.
Listen, you see all the time, Alan, you've commentated enough games to know a team in control of the game and you're on the front foot, they've got to take advantage of that. And that just sums Joe Newell's night up. I like Joe Newell, he's a good player. I think he's actually played quite well in between the boxes, but he was culpable for you know, not picking up for the goal, and then obviously he's had 2 or 3 efforts where he hasn't hit the target, but he is a good player. Just one of those nights, it's not quite worked for him.
Here come Aberdeen looking for a late fifth. Down at the corner flag, it's Richardson, Newell and Stevenson with him. Richardson just trying to keep it down in the corner flag. Newell's got it back, but in there is Conor Barron, throws himself to the ground. The assistant gives the throw in to Hibernian though, which will be taken by Stevenson. 1 minute left of injury time, and the home fans already have their celebrations well underway. They'll enjoy the Friday evening and no doubt the weekend to follow as Stevenson burrows his way down the left hand side. Now it's Newell infield to Campbell. Hibs trying to get forward late in the game. It will matter not a jot really, but they've given the ball away, and Aberdeen pick up, and then Campbell drags Watkins to the ground, earns himself a yellow card, and just adds insult to injury for Hibernian really, who will once again make the journey home, experiencing that losing feeling.
Yeah, they just want back to Leith now. They just want to get down the road and get this one out of their system and regroup for next week, because as I said, in the second half in particular, the standards dropped significantly from the first half performance, which was good.
It's a 5th away defeat in the league, which is confirmed by David Munro's final whistle. And really the pivotal moment came right at the end of the first half when Duke was taken down by David Marshall inside the penalty area, a decision which was arrived at belatedly after VAR advised the referee that first of all Duke was onside, and then David Munro came across and had a look at his monitor, decided David Marshall was indeed guilty of a foul, and Bojan Majowski stepped up in first half injury time, saw his first penalty saved by the boot of David Marshall, who was however off his line when the penalty was taken. It had to be retaken. Majowski stepped up once more, and this time he beat Marshall from the spot. That was just before the half-time whistle, and it really was the turning point in the game, because Hibs had probably been the better side in the first half but hadn't been able to find a goal. Into the second half, and only 8 minutes of it had been played before Aberdeen had doubled their advantage. This time it was a Leighton Clarkson corner from the left-hand side, and Majowski was all alone in the 6-yard box to plant the header. His 11th goal of the season past David Marshall. Ramadani made it 3-0 just after the hour mark, meeting a ball at the edge of the box forcefully, skipped off the turf. Not sure if it's a good deflection on its way past David Marshall, but maybe just the bounce of the ball beat the keeper as it flew past him, and that was as good as game over. At least it was until 20 minutes before the end, and Hibs pulled one back just to sow a little seed of doubt in our minds as to whether the game was well and truly won for Aberdeen. Kuharevich knocked it into the net from a Melkersen flick. It was initially adjudged offside, but VAR took a look and ruled that it was onside, so that was 3-1, but that didn't last long. 7 minutes later, on came Marley Watkins as a substitute, found Leighton Clarkson inside the penalty area, and the cutest of back heel finishes from Clarkson made it 4-1. That's how it finished. Aberdeen leapfrog Hibs back into third spot with a game in hand over tonight's opponents. It finished at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 4, Hibernian 1.
On digital radio.